in this area, so that is the bright side. But yes, like you said, they are expecting the winds to really impact the tree canopies here. They have 55% tree coverage here, known for tree coverage here, really is a Tree City, USA city here. So that is one impact, and they have the workforce already coming in to help these people here get power back once that actually does start to impact this area. Now, I do want to mention we're just standing in front of a park right now. So if we're zoomed out, you can see there's a lot of trees off in the distance. So once the sun comes up, we'll be able to see, the actual impact from the storm. Once we get the wind, you can see the trees start to whip. But right now, we just have a very consistent but light rain at this time, and the wind also pretty light. So if you take a look at the trees next to me, they're not swaying as of yet. It's just a very light movement at this time. So we're just waiting for the impacts to come in. Again, wind is going to be our biggest threat for this storm. Back to you.
And Brandy, you were mentioning that they had gone ahead and asked folks that live in mobile homes to evacuate. I think that that's a great move by the local authorities in Tallahassee. I mean, the winds that are possible for that area, a mobile home, even well tethered, is going to not be a safe spot.
Yeah, exactly. So they opened up some shelters, so those folks do have a place to go. So that is the good news. And anybody else, I should say, who wanted to get to a safer location, they can do so as well. And they even had sandbagging locations. There are some places, businesses that we found that did put some sandbags in front of their businesses, but it wasn't a widespread thing that we saw out here. Britta?
That's the benefit to a quick hit. It does lower the impact when it comes to flash flooding. Brandy Campbell reporting live in Tallahassee. Jason, talking about the whole wind impact here, obviously you can see we have some wind gusts that are coming through. These are easy to take on. I mean, it's not pleasant, but I'm feeling winds that are gusting maybe 20 to 30 miles per hour. When you're talking about a Category 4 hurricane that's making landfall, and as it pushes inland, we see that wind field expand. We're going to have very strong winds that encounter a lot of people. And when you look at inland locations, specifically Georgia, I mean, Jason, you have so much experience in the state of Georgia when it comes to forecasting. Top wind gusts, you're probably talking about tornado wind gusts, and that's an isolated spot, right? When you're talking about the fact that we could have hurricane force winds that are crossing the Florida-Georgia line, it's going to be at least a little bit of a stretch. I mean, hurricane force winds extend out right now about 15 to 20 miles. That's a big difference than an isolated strong wind gust from a tornado.
Yeah,
so
absolutely,
I think having more people impacted by that is going to be an interesting thing that we see unfold.
Yeah, I think the I-95 corridor is definitely going to be battered here within we'll say about the next 12 to 24 hours here. Britta, we're going to check back in with you in just a moment here. I want to get to one of our storm chasers, Brad Arnold. He is in the eye of the storm here. So, Brad, I know that you're joining us via phone here, but can you tell us exactly where you are and what are you seeing right now?
Yeah, right now we are in Perry, Florida, just a little bit off the coast, probably about 20 to 30 miles away from the Gulf of Mexico, as the major hurricane continues to work its way closer to our area. As of what we're seeing right now, we are seeing sustained winds now of tropical storm force strength. Gusting, I have gotten gust anywhere up to 50 to 60 miles an hour, so it is getting closer. These bands continue just to build up, and each band is stronger than the last that came through. So we're just kind of buckling down right here. We're in a Walmart parking lot, and we're just going to see how things continue to deteriorate throughout the morning hours.
Yeah, Brad, the eye of the storm is about 40 to about 45 miles southwest of your area. So we do anticipate the conditions are going to be going downhill here likely within about the next hour or so. By the way, is anybody at that Walmart? Is that Walmart open, or have stores closed, and are people heeding the local official?
All right, taking a live look now. This camera courtesy of EarthCam. This is over in San Marco, Florida. This is southern Florida on the western edge, the panhandle there. But just wanted to show this camera to you because we've been seeing some pretty intense lightning. There it is right there, flashing up in the screen again as Idalia has now strengthened up into a Category 4 storm as we continue to follow it here on Live Now from Fox. Want to turn now to our partners over at Fox 13 Tampa. They're speaking now with emergency official over in Pinellas County.
Thank you so much for taking time and speaking with us.
Thank you.
All right, she brings up a good point to, not to go into those flood. You have alligators, snakes, fire ants. I mean,
sewage,
the list goes
trash.
Oh my. Just don't do it.
She mentioned something which was very important. She said the water is still coming up. Let me show you. Here's Bayshore Boulevard. You see the water? You see the water coming into Bayshore now, okay? You got a south-southwest wind at 25 miles per hour. This is not going anywhere. This is what it's going to be like throughout the day. This is actually closer to Gandy.
Okay.
So this would be south of Beta Bay, Jen, okay? So you're kind of closer to Gandy and this is the vantage point that we've got. And again, now that we're getting a little bit closer, we can get some lights, we can see what's going on. Yeah. That part of Bayshore is closed. I know that, so coming, say, from McDill, like you want to go toward downtown, I know that part is done. The other side looks open because the water's not there yet, but that's the water coming over Bayshore this morning. And I wanted to, this is why we're saying, really just hanging tight, because it's not the rain, it's not the wind, and that's our first thought when you think of a hurricane. But what are you going to do when you can't get past that?
And I mean, where are you going? There's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to be right now.
But
don't be curious and don't go out there.
That's just one of probably hundreds of roads that look like that right now, which may get worse as this storm surge just continues to pour in. And even though the storm's far to our north, okay? I just wanted to mention that.
No, and that illustrates the point big time, Dave.
All right, we are continuing to follow the track and impacts of Hurricane Idalia as it makes its way north to the Big Bend area.
Let's go to Mariah Harrison, who is live in Hernando County at the Emergency Operations Center. What's it looking like up there?
Hey, good morning, guys. Actually, that EOC was definitely getting battered with some strong wind and rain, according to the radar. We've actually moved over closer to Cortez Road and US 19. So US 19 has really been sort of an anchor point here in Hernando County. Yesterday, during evacuations, it was the anchor point. If you were west of US 19, well, you needed to figure out how to get east of US 19. This morning, it really is more of a physical barrier. You are not allowed access to any of these coastal communities along Hernando County unless you own a house, own a business, or are members of the media. Right here at Cortez and US 19, I mean, they have the road closed. You can see the deputies are parked, and we have seen a couple of people get turned around as they were trying to get beyond this point and maybe reach, some of those coastal communities. We actually have a map up to show you what the access kind of looks like. So right now, Pine Island, Bayport, Hernando Beach, access is closed from now until the foreseeable future because this is all within the county evacuation zone. So as part of the media, they did let us beyond the barrier so we
Then a chance of showers late. Thursday, south winds 5 to 10 knots. Seas 2 to 4 feet with a dominant period of 8 seconds. Protected waters a light chop. A chance of showers with a slight chance of thunderstorms early in the morning. Then showers and thunderstorms likely in the late morning and afternoon. Thursday night, southeast winds 5 to 10 knots. Seas 2 to 3 feet with a dominant period of 7 seconds. Protected waters a light chop. Showers and thunderstorms. Friday, southeast winds 5 to 10 knots, increasing to 15 knots in the afternoon. Seas 2 to 3 feet with a dominant period of 7 seconds. Protected waters a moderate chop. Showers and thunderstorms. Friday night, southeast winds 5 to 10 knots. Seas 2 to 3 feet with a dominant period of 6 seconds. Protected waters a light chop. Showers and thunderstorms. Saturday, east winds 10 to 15 knots. Seas around 2 feet with a dominant period of 6 seconds. Protected waters a moderate chop. Showers and thunderstorms. Saturday night, east winds 5 to 10 knots. Seas around 2 feet with a dominant period of 6 seconds. Protected waters a light chop. Showers and thunderstorms likely early in the evening, then a chance of showers and thunderstorms in the late evening and overnight. Sunday, east winds 10 to 15 knots. Seas around 2 feet with a dominant period of 5 seconds. Protected waters a moderate chop. A chance of showers and thunderstorms. Sunday night, east winds 5 to 10 knots. Seas around 2 feet with a dominant period of 5 seconds. Protected waters a light chop. A chance of showers and thunderstorms early in the evening, then a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms late in the evening. A chance of showers and thunderstorms after midnight. Winds and waves higher and near thunderstorms. The coastal waters forecast for the following: Appalachia Bay or coastal waters from Keaton Beach to Ocklawahamie River. Watch 660 in effect until 6 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time early this morning. Hurricane warning in effect. Today, hurricane conditions. West winds 75 to 95 knots with gusts up to 120 knots, diminishing to 25 to 30 knots with gusts up to 50 knots this afternoon. Seas 8 to 11 feet with a dominant period of 9 seconds, subsiding to 6 to 8 feet with a dominant period of 9 seconds this afternoon. Protected waters extremely rough. A slight chance of thunderstorms. Showers. Tonight, tropical storm conditions possible with hurricane conditions also possible. West winds 20 to 25 knots, diminishing to 10 to 15 knots after midnight. Seas 4 to 6 feet with a dominant period of 7 seconds, subsiding to 2 to 4 feet with a dominant period of 7 seconds after midnight. Protected waters rough. A slight chance of thunderstorms. Thursday, west winds 5 to 10 knots, becoming south in the afternoon. Seas 2 to 3 feet with a dominant period of 8 seconds. Protected waters a light chop. A slight chance of thunderstorms early in the morning. A chance of showers in the morning. A chance of thunderstorms late in the morning, then showers and thunderstorms likely in the afternoon. Thursday night, south winds 5 to 10 knots, becoming southeast after midnight. Seas around 2 feet with a dominant period of 7 seconds. Protected waters a light chop. Showers and thunderstorms likely. Friday, east winds 5 to 10 knots. Seas around 2 feet with a dominant period of 6 seconds. Protected waters a light chop. Showers and thunderstorms likely. Friday night, east winds 5 to 10 knots, increasing to 10 to 15 knots after midnight. Seas around 2 feet with a dominant period of 5 seconds. Protected waters a moderate chop. Showers and thunderstorms likely, mainly in the evening. Saturday, northeast winds 10 to 15 knots. Seas around 2 feet with a dominant period of 4 seconds. Protected waters a moderate chop. A chance of showers and thunderstorms. Saturday night, northeast winds 10 to 15 knots. Seas around 2 feet with a dominant period of 4 seconds. Protected waters a moderate chop. A chance of showers and thunderstorms, mainly in the evening. Sunday, northeast winds 10 to 15 knots. Seas around 2 feet with a dominant period of 4 seconds. Waters a moderate chop. A slight chance of showers and thunderstorms. Winds 5 to 10 knots. Waves 1 foot or less. Protected waters a light chop. A slight chance of showers and thunderstorms. Winds and waves higher and near thunderstorms. You're listening to NOAA weather radio station KIH-24 in Tallahassee, Florida, operating 24 hours a day on a frequency of 162.40 megahertz. This broadcast originates from your National Weather Service office in Tallahassee, Florida. The latest weather and forecast information can also be accessed by calling our automated forecast line at 850-942-8851. A hurricane warning remains in effect for the following counties: in Florida, Dixie, Jefferson, Lafayette, Leon, Madison, Taylor, and Wakulla, and the following counties: in Georgia, Berrien, Brooks, Cook, Lanier, Lowndes, and Thomas. Hurricane warning remains in effect. What? East winds 90 to 115 knots, around 130 knots, and seas 15 to 25 feet. Where? Appalachia Bay or coastal waters from Keaton Beach to Ocklawahamie River, Florida out to 20 nautical miles. Coastal waters from Ocklawahamie River to Appalachia, Florida out to 20 nautical miles. Coastal waters from Swamee River to Keaton Beach, Florida out 20 nautical miles. Waters from Apalachicola to Mexico Beach, Florida from 20 to 60 nautical miles, and waters from Swamee River to Apalachicola, Florida from 20 to 60 nautical miles. When hurricane force winds are expected tonight through Wednesday. Impacts. Extremely strong winds will cause hazardous seas which will likely capsize or damage vessels and severely reduce visibility. Mariners should remain in port, alter course, and or secure the vessel for extreme conditions. A tropical storm warning remains in effect for the following counties. In Florida, Coastal Gulf, Franklin, Gadsden, Gulf and Liberty, and the following counties. In Georgia, Baker, Van Hill, Colquitt, Decatur, Doherty, Grady, Irwin, Lee, Mitchell, Tift, Turner, and Worth. Tropical storm warning remains in effect. What? North winds 30 to 45 knots and seas 15 to 20 feet expected. Where? Coastal waters from Mexico Beach to Okaloosa, Walton County line, Florida out 20 nautical miles, and waters from Mexico Beach to Okaloosa, Walton County line, Florida from 20 to 60 nautical miles. When? Tropical storm force winds are likely tonight and Wednesday. Impacts. Very strong winds will cause hazardous seas which could capsize or damage vessels and reduce visibility. Mariners should alter plans to avoid these hazardous conditions. Remain in port, seek safe harbor, alter course, and or secure the vessel for severe conditions. Category 4 Hurricane Idalia approaching landfall in the Florida Big Bend this morning. New information changes to watches and warnings. None current watches and warnings. A storm surge warning and hurricane warning are in effect for coastal Dixie, coastal Franklin, coastal Jefferson, coastal Taylor, and coastal Wakulla. A hurricane warning is in effect for Berrien, Brooks, Cook, inland Dixie, inland Jefferson, inland Taylor, inland Wakulla, Lafayette, Lanier, Leon, Lowndes, Madison, and Thomas. A tropical storm warning is in effect for Baker, Van Hill, coastal Gulf, Colquitt, Decatur, Doherty, Gadsden, Grady, inland Franklin, inland Gulf, Irwin, Lee, Liberty, Mitchell, Tift, Turner, and Worth. Situation overview. All residents need to stay in shelter today. Please wait until officials give the all clear before venturing out. Hurricane Idalia continues to strengthen further. At 5 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, the center of Idalia was located over the eastern Gulf of Mexico, about 90 miles south of Tallahassee, Florida. Idalia is moving to the north at 18 miles per hour. Idalia now has top sustained winds of 130 miles per hour, which is a potentially catastrophic Category 4 hurricane. Additional strengthening is still forecast through landfall. Idalia is now forecast to be a potentially catastrophic Category 4 hurricane at landfall. To put this into historical context, there are no major hurricanes Category 3+ in the historical data set going back to 1851 that have tracked into Appalachia Bay. This has the makings of an unprecedented event for this part of the state. At this time, you need to hunker down and shelter in place. Additionally, we want to urge those along the I-75 corridor in South Georgia to prepare for potentially destructive hurricane force winds. The current forecast calls for a strong Category 2 hurricane near Homerville in Clinch County, which brings it dangerously close to Valdosta and Lakeland. Widespread, significant wind damage and prolonged power outages will be possible from the eastern Big Bend into our southern Georgia counties around Valdosta. Life-threatening and catastrophic storm surge is expected around the shores of Appalachia Bay. From the Osceola River to Keytown, storm surge inundation of 12 to 16 feet is possible. Storm surge will be highly dependent on the storm track, with the highest surge values along and to the right of where the center makes landfall. Storm surge will peak tonight and Wednesday. A storm surge warning is in effect from Indian Pass to the Swamee River for the danger of life-threatening inundation from rising water moving inland. Storm surge inundation above normally dry ground could reach the following heights if the peak surge occurs with high tide: 1 to 3 feet from Mexico Beach to Indian Pass, 3 to 5 feet from Indian Pass to Carrabble, 5 to 8 feet from Carrabble to the mouth of the Ocklawahamie River, 8 to 12 feet from the Ocklawahamie River to the Osceola River, and 12 to 16 feet from the Osceola River to the Swamee River. The deepest water will occur along the immediate coast, where the surge will be accompanied by large and dangerous waves. A hurricane warning is in effect along the coast from Indian Pass to the Swamee River, plus inland portions of the Florida Big Bend and the I-75 corridor of South Georgia. A tropical storm warning is in effect from Mexico Beach to Indian Pass, plus inland portions of southwest Georgia as far northwest as Bainbridge, Camilla, and Sylvester. Tropical storm force winds are beginning along the coast. These will spread inland through the morning. Expect outbreaks in power lines, possibly widespread, across the eastern Big Bend into southern Georgia around Valdosta and Moody Air Force Base. Now is the time to shelter in place. Rainfall amounts will be heaviest along and east of the track of Idalia, especially in the Florida Big Bend in south central Georgia. 5 to 8 inches of rain are forecast, with isolated higher amounts up to 12 inches possible. This could lead to life-threatening flash flooding. A flood watch is now in effect from Gulf County, Florida to Lee County, Georgia, and all points eastward. River flooding is possible in the Ocklawahamie, Alcida, St. Marks, and Swan-E basins, but fast forward motion of the storms will keep river flooding minor. Several tornadoes are possible in the outer rain band starting tonight and continuing into Wednesday. This will primarily be east of the center. A tornado watch is in effect until 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time for near and Brown counties and from Madison, Taylor, Lafayette, Florida. Widespread currents and high surf are expected along all beaches for at least the next couple days, well away from the center. Everyone needs to stay out of the water. The National Weather Service has issued Tornado Watch number 661, effective until 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. This watch includes the following counties in Florida, Madison and Taylor, and Appalachia Bay or coastal waters from Keaton Beach to Ocklawahamie River. Remember, a tornado watch means the conditions are favorable for the development of severe weather, including tornadoes, large hail, and damaging winds in and close to the watch area. While severe weather may not be imminent, persons should remain alert for rapidly changing weather and listen for later statements and possible warnings. Stay tuned to NOAA Weather Radio, commercial radio and television outlets, or internet sources for the latest severe weather information. Tornado Watch number 660 has been canceled for the following county, Taylor, Florida. The National Weather Service has issued Tornado Watch number 661, effective until 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. This watch includes the following counties, Taylor, Florida. Remember, a tornado watch means the conditions are favorable for the development of severe weather, including tornadoes, large hail, and damaging winds in and close to the watch area. While severe weather may not be imminent, persons should change in weather conditions and listen for later statements and possible warnings. Stay tuned to NOAA Weather Radio, commercial radio and television outlets, or internet sources for the latest severe weather information. The current time is 5:55 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. These are the 5 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time conditions. At the Tallahassee Airport, rain was falling. The temperature was 76 degrees. The wind was northeast at 15 miles an hour. At Florida State University, the temperature was 75 degrees. The wind was northeast at 9 miles an hour. At Apalachicola, fog was reported. The temperature was 75 degrees. The wind was north at 28 miles an hour. At Panama City Northwest, it was cloudy. The temperature was 78 degrees. The wind was north at 12 miles an hour. At Dothan, it was cloudy. The temperature was 75 degrees. The wind was northeast at 12 miles an hour. At Albany, light rain was falling. The temperature was 76 degrees. The wind was northeast at 12 miles an hour. At Valdosta, rain and fog were reported. The temperature was 76 degrees. The wind was northeast at 12 miles an hour. The forecast for the local area. Flood watch in effect through this evening. Hurricane warning in effect. Today, tropical storm conditions expected with hurricane conditions possible. Showers with a slight chance of thunderstorms. Cooler with highs in the lower 80s. North winds 25 to 35 miles per hour with gusts up to 60 miles per hour, becoming northwest with gusts up to 50 miles per hour this afternoon. Chance of rain near 100%. Tonight, mostly cloudy in the evening, then clearing. A chance of showers with a slight chance of thunderstorms. Lows in the lower 70s. West winds 10 to 15 miles per hour with gusts up to 25 miles per hour, diminishing to around 5 miles per hour after midnight. Chance of rain 50%. Thursday, mostly sunny. A chance of showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon. Humid with highs in the lower 90s. Northeast winds around 5 miles per hour, becoming southeast around 5 miles per hour in the afternoon. Chance of rain 50%. Heat index values up to 105. Thursday night, partly cloudy with a chance of showers and thunderstorms. Humid with lows in the lower 70s. East winds around 5 miles per hour. Chance of rain 50%. Friday, partly sunny. A chance of showers and thunderstorms in the morning, then showers and thunderstorms likely in the afternoon. Highs in the upper 80s. East winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Chance of 70%. Friday night, partly cloudy. Showers and thunderstorms likely, mainly in the evening. Lows in the lower 70s. Chance of rain 70%. Saturday, mostly sunny with a chance of showers and thunderstorms. Highs in the mid-80s. Chance of rain 40%. Saturday night, partly cloudy. A chance of showers and thunderstorms in the evening. Lows in the upper 60s. Chance of rain 40%. Sunday, sunny. Highs in the upper 80s. Sunday night, mostly clear. Lows in the upper 60s. Labor Day, sunny. Highs in the upper 80s. Monday night, mostly clear. Lows around 70. Tuesday, sunny. Highs in the lower 90s. A storm surge warning remains in effect and a hurricane warning remains in effect for the following counties. In Florida, coastal Dixie, coastal Franklin, coastal Jefferson, coastal Taylor, and coastal Waukesha. The coastal waters forecast for the following: coastal waters from Ocklawahamie River to Apalachicola, waters from Swamee River to Apalachicola, Florida, extending from 20 to 60 nautical miles, and waters from Mexico Beach to Apalachicola, 20 to 60 nautical miles. Hurricane warning in effect. Today, hurricane conditions expected. Northwest winds 50 to 60 knots with gusts up to 80 knots, becoming west 25 to 30 knots this afternoon. Seas 12 to 17 feet with a dominant period of 10 seconds, subsiding to 7 to 10 feet with a dominant period of 8 seconds this afternoon. Protected waters extremely rough. A slight chance of thunderstorms. Showers until late afternoon, then a chance of showers late. Tonight, west winds 15 to 20 knots, diminishing to 5 to 10 knots after midnight. Seas 5 to 7 feet with a dominant period of 7 seconds, subsiding to 3 to 5 feet with a dominant period of 8 seconds after midnight. Protected waters choppy. Showers likely with a slight chance of thunderstorms. Thursday, southwest winds 5 to 10 knots. Seas 3 to 4 feet with a dominant period of 7 seconds. Protected waters a light chop. Showers and thunderstorms. Thursday night, south winds around 5 knots, increasing to 5 to 10 knots after midnight. Seas 2 to 3 feet with a dominant period of 7 seconds. Protected waters a light chop. Showers and thunderstorms. Friday, southeast winds 5 to 10 knots. Seas 2 to 3 feet with a dominant period of 6 seconds. Protected waters a light chop. Showers and thunderstorms. Friday night, southeast winds 5 to 10 knots, becoming 10 to 15 knots after midnight. Seas 2 to 3 feet with a dominant period of 6 seconds. Protected waters a moderate chop. Showers and thunderstorms. Saturday, east winds 10 to 15 knots. Seas around 2 feet with a dominant period of 6 seconds. Protected waters a moderate chop. Showers and thunderstorms until late afternoon. Thunderstorms late. Saturday night, northeast winds 10 to 15 knots. Seas around 2 feet with a dominant period of 5 seconds. Protected waters a moderate chop. A chance of showers and thunderstorms. Sunday, east winds 10 to 15 knots. Seas around 2 feet with a dominant period of 4 seconds. Protected waters a moderate chop. A chance of showers and thunderstorms. Sunday night, northeast winds 5 to 10 knots, becoming east 10 to 15 knots after midnight. Seas around 2 feet with a dominant period of 4 seconds. Protected waters a moderate chop. A slight chance of showers and thunderstorms in the evening, then a chance of showers and thunderstorms after midnight. Winds and waves higher and near thunderstorms. The coastal waters forecast for the following: coastal waters from Okaloosa, Walton County line to Mexico Beach out to 20 nautical miles, coastal waters from Mexico Beach to Apalachicola out to 20 nautical miles, and waters from Okaloosa, Walton County line to Mexico Beach 20 to 60 nautical miles. Tropical storm warning in effect. Today, tropical storm conditions possible. North winds 25 to 30 knots with gusts up to 45 knots. Becoming northwest 20 to 25 knots with gusts up to 30 Seas 9 to 10 feet with a dominant period of 10 seconds. Subsiding to 7 to 10 feet with a dominant period of 9 seconds this afternoon. Protected waters very rough. A slight chance of thunderstorms. Showers early this morning, then a chance of showers this afternoon. Tonight, west winds 15 to 20 knots, diminishing to 5 to 10 knots after midnight. Seas 5 to 7 feet with a dominant period of 8 seconds, subsiding to 3 to 5 feet with a dominant period of 8 seconds after midnight. Protected waters choppy. A slight chance of thunderstorms. Showers likely until early morning, then a chance of showers late. Thursday, south winds 5 to 10 knots. Seas 2 to 4 feet with a dominant period of 8 seconds. Protected waters a light chop. A chance of showers with a slight chance of thunderstorms early in the morning, then showers and thunderstorms likely in the late morning and afternoon. Thursday night, southeast winds 5 to 10 knots. Seas 2 to 3 feet with a dominant period of 7 seconds. Protected waters a light chop. Showers and thunderstorms. Friday, southeast winds 5 to 10 knots, increasing to 10 to 15 knots in the afternoon. Seas 2 to 3 feet with a dominant period of 7 seconds. Protected waters a moderate chop. Showers and thunderstorms. Friday night, southeast winds 5 to 10 knots. Seas 2 to 3 feet with a dominant period of 6 seconds. Protected waters a light chop. Showers and thunderstorms. Saturday, east winds 10 to 15 knots. Seas around 2 feet with a dominant period of 6 seconds. Protected waters a moderate chop. Showers and thunderstorms. Saturday night, east winds 5 to 10 knots. Seas around 2 feet with a dominant period of 6 seconds. Protected waters a light chop. Showers and thunderstorms likely early in the evening, then a chance of showers and thunderstorms in the late evening and overnight. Sunday, east winds 10 to 15 knots. Seas around 2 feet with a dominant period of 5 seconds. Protected waters a moderate chop. A chance of showers and thunderstorms. Sunday night, east winds 5 to 10 knots. Seas around 2 feet with a dominant period of 5 seconds. Protected waters a light chop. A chance of showers and thunderstorms early in the evening, then a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms late in the evening. A chance of showers and thunderstorms after midnight. Winds and waves higher and near thunderstorms. The coastal waters forecast for the following: Appalachia Bay or coastal waters from Keaton Beach to Ocklawaha River. Tornado watch 661 in effect until 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time this afternoon. Hurricane warning in effect. Today, hurricane conditions. West winds 75 to 95 knots with gusts up to 120 knots, diminishing to 25 to 30 knots with gusts up to 50 knots this afternoon. Seas 8 to 11 feet with a dominant period of 9 seconds, subsiding to 6 to 8 feet with a dominant period of 9 seconds this afternoon. Protected waters extremely rough. A slight chance of thunderstorms. Showers. Tonight, tropical storm conditions possible with hurricane conditions also possible. West winds 20 to 25 knots, diminishing to 10 to 15 knots after midnight. Seas 4 to 6 feet with a dominant period of 7 seconds, subsiding to 2 to 4 feet with a dominant period of 7 seconds after midnight. Protected waters rough. A slight chance of thunderstorms. Thursday, west winds 5 to 10 knots, becoming south in the afternoon. Seas 2 to 3 feet with a dominant period of 8 seconds. Protected waters a light chop. A slight chance of thunderstorms early in the morning. A chance of showers in the morning. A chance of thunderstorms late in the morning, then showers and thunderstorms likely in the afternoon. Thursday night, south winds 5 to 10 knots, becoming southeast after midnight. Seas around 2 feet with a dominant period of 7 seconds. Protected waters a light chop. Showers and thunderstorms likely. Friday, east winds 5 to 10 knots. Seas around 2 feet with a dominant period of 6 seconds. Protected waters a light chop. Showers and thunderstorms likely. Friday night, east winds 5 to 10 knots, increasing to 10 to 15 knots after midnight. Seas around 2 feet with a dominant period of 5 seconds. Protected waters a moderate chop. Showers and thunderstorms likely, mainly in the evening. Northeast winds 10 to 15 knots. Seas around 2 feet with a dominant period of 4 seconds. Protected waters a moderate chop. A chance of showers and thunderstorms. Saturday night, northeast winds 10 to 15 knots. Seas around 2 feet with a dominant period of 4 seconds. Protected waters a moderate chop. A chance of showers and thunderstorms, mainly in the evening. Sunday, northeast winds 10 to 15 knots. Seas around 2 feet with a dominant period of 4 seconds. Protected waters a moderate chop. A slight chance of showers and thunderstorms. Sunday night, northeast winds 5 to 10 knots. Waves 1 foot or less. Protected waters a light chop. A slight chance of showers and thunderstorms. Winds and waves higher and near thunderstorms. You are listening to NOAA Weather. KIH-24 in Tallahassee, Florida, operating 24 hours a day on a frequency of 162.40 megahertz. Broadcast originates from your National Weather Service office in Tallahassee, Florida. The latest weather and forecast information can also be accessed by calling our automated forecast line at 850-942-8851. A hurricane warning remains in effect for the following counties in Florida: Dixie, Jefferson, Lafayette, Leon, Madison, Taylor, and Wakulla, and the following counties in Georgia: Berrien, Brooks, Cook, Lanier, Lowndes, and Thomas. Hurricane warning remains in effect. What? East winds 90 to 115 knots with gusts around 130 knots and seas 15 to 25 feet. Where? Appalachia Bay or coastal waters from Keaton Beach to Ocklawahamie River, Florida, out to 20 nautical miles. Coastal waters from Ocklawahamie River to Apalachicola, Florida, out to 20 nautical miles. Coastal waters from Swampy River to Keaton Beach, Florida, out 20 nautical miles. Waters from Apalachicola to Mexico Beach, Florida, from 20 to 60 nautical miles. And waters from Swampy River to Apalachicola, Florida, from 20 to 60 nautical miles. When? Hurricane force winds are expected tonight through Wednesday. Impacts. Extremely strong winds will cause hazardous seas which will likely capsize or damage vessels and severely reduce visibility. Mariners should remain in port, alter course, and or secure the vessel for extreme conditions. A tropical storm warning remains in effect for the following counties in Florida: Coastal Gulf, Franklin, Gadsden, Gulf and Liberty, and the following counties in Georgia: Baker, Van Hill, Colquitt, Decatur, Grady, Irwin, Lee, Mitchell, Tift, Turner, and Worth. Tropical storm warning remains in effect. What? North winds 30 to 45 knots and seas 15 to 20 feet expected. Where? Coastal waters from Mexico Beach to Okaloosa, Walton County line, Florida, out 20 nautical miles, and waters from Mexico Beach to Okaloosa, Walton County line, 20 to 60 nautical miles. When? Tropical storm force winds are likely tonight and Wednesday. Strong winds will cause hazardous seas which could capsize or damage vessels and reduce visibility. Mariners should alter plans to avoid these hazardous conditions. Remain in port, seek safe harbor, alter course, and or secure the vessel for severe conditions. Extremely dangerous Category 4 Hurricane Idalia approaching landfall in the Florida Big Bend this morning. Changes to watches and warnings. None current watches and warnings. A storm surge warning and hurricane warning are in effect for coastal Dixie, coastal Franklin, coastal Jefferson, coastal Taylor, and coastal Wakulla. A hurricane warning is in effect for Berrien, Brooks, Cook, inland Dixie, inland Jefferson, inland Taylor, inland Wakulla, Lafayette, Lanier, Leon, Lowndes, Madison, and Thomas. A tropical storm warning is in effect for Baker, Van Hill, coastal Gulf, Colquitt, Decatur, Doherty, Gadsden, Grady, inland Franklin, inland Gulf, Irwin, Lee, Liberty, Mitchell, Tift, Turner, and Worth. Situation overview. All residents need to stay in shelter today. Please wait until officials give the all clear before venturing out. Hurricane Idalia continues to strengthen further. At 5 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, the center of Idalia was located over the eastern Gulf of Mexico, about 90 miles south of Tallahassee, Florida. Idalia is moving to the north at 18 miles per hour. Idalia now has top sustained winds of 130 miles per hour, which is a potentially catastrophic Category 4 hurricane. Additional strengthening is still forecast through landfall. Idalia is now forecast to be a potentially catastrophic Category 4 hurricane at landfall. To put this into historical context, there are no major hurricanes Category 3+ in the historical dataset going back to 1851 that have tracked into Appalachia Bay. This has the makings of an unprecedented event for this part of the state. At this time, you need to hunker down and shelter in place. Additionally, we want to urge those along the I-75 corridor in South Georgia to prepare for potentially destructive hurricane-force winds. The current forecast calls for a strong Category 2 hurricane near Homerville in Clinch County, which brings it dangerous to Valdosta and Lakeland. Widespread, significant wind damage and prolonged power outages will be possible from the eastern Big Bend into our southern Georgia counties around Valdosta. Life-threatening and catastrophic storm surge is expected around the shores of Appalachia Bay. From the Idalia River to Keytown, storm surge inundation of 12 to 16 feet is possible. Storm surge will be highly dependent on the storm track, with the highest surge values along and to the right of where the center makes landfall. Storm surge will peak tonight and Wednesday. A storm surge warning is in effect from Indian Pass to the Swamee River for the danger of life-threatening inundation from rising water moving inland. Storm surge inundation above normally dry ground could reach the following heights if the peak surge occurs with high tide: 1 to 3 feet from Mexico Beach to Indian Pass, 3 to 5 feet from Indian Pass to Carrabble, 5 to 8 feet from Carrabble to the mouth of the Ocklawatomie River, 8 to 12 feet from the Ocklawatomie River to the Idalia River, and 12 to 16 feet from the Idalia River to the Swamee River. The deepest water will occur on the immediate coast, where the surge will be accompanied by large and dangerous winds. A hurricane warning is in effect along the coast from Indian Pass to the Swamee River, plus inland portions of the Florida Big Bend and the I-75 corridor of South Georgia. A tropical storm warning is in effect from Mexico Beach to Indian Pass, plus inland portions of southwest Georgia as far northwest as Bainbridge, Camilla, and Sylvester. Tropical storm force winds are beginning along the coast, spread inland through the morning. Expect down trees and power lines, possibly widespread, across the eastern Big Bend into southern Georgia around Valdosta and the Air Force Base. Now is the time to shelter. Rainfall amounts will be heaviest along and east of the track of Idalia, especially in the Florida Big Bend in south central Georgia. 5 to 8 inches of rain are forecast, with ice amounts up to 12 inches possible. This could lead to life-threatening flash flooding. A flood watch is now in effect from Gulf County, Florida to Lee County, Georgia, and all points eastward. River flooding is possible in the Ocklawatomie, Idalia, St. Marks, and Swanee basins, but fast forward motion of the storms will keep river flooding minor. Several tornadoes are possible in the outer rain band starting tonight and continuing into Wednesday. This will primarily be north and east of the center. A tornado watch is in effect until 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time for Lanier and Lowndes counties and for Madison, Taylor, Lafayette, and Dixie counties in Florida. Life-threatening winds and high surf are expected along all beaches for at least the next couple days, well away from the center. Everyone needs to stay out of the water. The National Weather Service has issued Tornado Watch number 661, effective until 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. This watch includes the following counties: in Florida, Madison and Taylor, and Appalachia Bay or coastal waters from Keaton Beach to Ocklawatomie River. Remember, a tornado watch means the conditions are favorable for the development of severe weather, including tornadoes, large hail, and damaging winds in and close to the watch area. While severe weather may not be imminent, persons should remain alert for rapidly changing weather conditions and listen for later statements and possible warnings. Stay tuned to NOAA Weather Radio, commercial radio and television outlets, or internet sources for the latest severe weather information. Tornado Watch number 660 has been canceled for the following county: Taylor, Florida. The National Weather Service has issued Tornado Watch number 661, effective until 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. This watch includes the following county: Taylor, Florida. Remember, a tornado the conditions are favorable for the development of severe weather, including tornadoes, large hail, and damaging winds in and close to the watch area. While severe weather may not be imminent, persons should remain alert for rapidly changing weather conditions and listen for later statements and possible warnings. Stay tuned to NOAA Weather Radio, commercial radio and television outlets, or internet sources for the latest severe weather information. The current time is 6:17 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. These are the 6 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time conditions. At the Tallahassee Airport, heavy rain and fog were reported. The temperature was 76 degrees. The wind was north at 20 miles an hour. At Florida State University, the temperature was 75 degrees. The wind was northeast at 13 miles an hour. At Apalachicola, it was cloudy. The temperature was 75 degrees. The wind was north at 21 miles an hour. At Panama City Northwest, it was mostly cloudy. The temperature was 78 degrees. The wind was north at 10 miles an hour. At Hilton, it was mostly cloudy. The temperature was 75 degrees. The wind was northeast at 8 miles an hour. At Albany, light rain was falling. The temperature was 75 degrees. The wind was northeast at 10 miles an hour. At Valdosta, heavy rain and fog were reported. The temperature was 76 degrees. The wind was northeast at 15 miles an hour. The forecast for the local area. Flood watch in effect through this evening. Hurricane warning in effect. Today.
Available.
This is Knowaweate Radio KHB 32, servint Tampa Bay Area, una frecuencia 162.55 MHz.
A storm surge warning remains in effect and a hurricane warning remains in effect for the following counties. In Florida, coastal Citrus, coastal Hernando, coastal Hillsborough, coastal... The current time is 6:19 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Flood warning remains in effect from Thursday afternoon to Saturday morning. What minor flooding is forecast? Where? Al-Afai River at Lithia. When? From Thursday afternoon to Saturday morning. Impacts at 13 feet. River Drive and Squirrel Runway downstream of County Road 640 are completely covered by water. One home begins to flood. Additional details, at 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time Tuesday, the stage was 5.0 feet. Bankful stage is 13 feet. Forecast, the river is expected to rise above flood stage Friday morning to a crest of 13.1 feet Friday morning. It will then fall below flood stage. National Weather Service in Ruskin has issued a tornado warning for northwestern Highlands County in south central Florida, eastern Hardee County in central Florida, south central Polk County in central Florida, until 6:45 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. At 6:19 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located 11 miles southeast of Wauchula, moving north at 45 miles an hour. Hazard, tornado. Source, radar indicated rotation. Impact, flying debris will be dangerous to those caught without shelter. Mobile homes will be damaged or destroyed. Damage to roofs, windows, and vehicles will occur. Tree damage is likely. This dangerous storm will be near Avon Park around 6:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Other locations impacted by this tornadic thunderstorm include Crooked Lake Park, Cruiseville, Frostproof, Sweetwater, and Avon Park Executive Airport. Take cover now. If your home is flooded, avoid flood waters. If possible, take shelter in an interior room. Avoid windows. If you are outdoors, in a mobile home, or in a vehicle, move to the closest substantial shelter and protect yourself from flying debris. Repeating, a tornado warning has been issued until 6:45 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time for the following counties in Florida, Hardee and Polk. Flood warning remains in effect from Thursday afternoon to Saturday morning. What minor flooding is forecast? Where? Al-Afai River at Lithia. When? From Thursday afternoon to Saturday morning. Impacts at 13 feet. River Drive and Squirrel Runway downstream of County Road 640 are completely covered by water. One home begins to flood. Additional details, at 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time Tuesday, the stage was 5.0 feet. Bankful stage is 13 feet. Forecast, the river is expected to rise above flood stage Friday morning to a crest of 13.1 feet Friday morning. It will then fall below flood stage late Friday morning. Flood stage is 13 feet. Flood history. This crest compares to a previous crest of 13.1 feet on June 14, 1933. https www.weather.gov/safety/flood. Flood warning now in effect from early this morning to late this evening. What? Moderate flooding is occurring and major flooding is forecast. This will approach or surpass the flood record. Where? Al-Afai River at Riverview near US 301. When? From early this morning to late this evening. Deva stage was 5.4 feet. Bankful stage is 4.2 feet. Recent activity, the maximum river stage in the 24 hours ending at 4 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time Wednesday was 5.4 feet. Forecast, the river will oscillate above flood stage with a maximum value of 6.5 feet late this morning. It will fall below flood stage late this afternoon. Flood stage is 4.2 feet. Flood history, this crest compares to a previous crest of 6.2 feet on September 6, 2004. https www.weather.gov/safety/flood turnaround. Don't drown when encountering flooded roads. Most flood deaths occur in vehicles. Caution is urged when walking near riverbanks. Motorists should not attempt to drive around barricades or drive cars through flooded areas. Additional information is available at www.weather.gov. The next statement will be issued by noon this evening at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. A hurricane warning remains in effect for the following counties: in Florida, inland Hernando, inland Hillsborough, inland Levy, inland Manatee, inland Pasco, and Sumter. The National Weather Service has issued Tornado Watch number 661, effective until 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. This watch includes the following counties: in Florida, Hillsborough, Pasco, Pinellas and Polk, and Tampa Bay waters. Remember, a tornado watch means the conditions are favorable for the development of severe weather, including tornadoes, large hail and damaging winds, in and close to the watch area. While severe weather may not be imminent, persons should remain alert for rapidly changing weather conditions and listen for later statements and possible warnings. Stay tuned to NOAA weather radio, commercial radio and television outlets, or internet sources for the latest severe weather information. Repeating, Tornado Watch number 661 has been issued until 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time for the following counties: in Florida, Hillsborough, Pasco, Pinellas and Polk, and Tampa Bay waters. Tornado Watch number 660 has been allowed to expire for the following counties: in Florida, Hardee and Manatee. Repeating, the Tornado Watch number 660 has been allowed to expire for the following counties: in Florida, Hardee and Manatee. Tornado Watch number 660 has been allowed to expire for the following marine location: coastal waters from Englewood to Tarpon Springs out 20 nautical miles. Repeating, the Tornado Watch number 660 has been allowed to expire for the following marine location: coastal waters from Englewood to Tarpon Springs out 20 nautical miles. A tropical storm warning remains in effect for the following counties: in Florida, DE Soto, Hardee, inland Charlotte, inland Lee, inland Sarasota, and Polk. The National Weather Service in Ruskin has issued a tornado warning for northwestern Highlands County in south central Florida, eastern Hardee County in central Florida, south central Polk County in central Florida, until 6:45 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. At 6:19 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located 11 miles southeast of Wauchula, moving north at 45 miles an hour. Hazard: tornado. Source: radar indicated rotation. Impact: flying debris will be dangerous to those caught without shelter. Mobile homes will be damaged or destroyed. Damage to roofs, windows, and vehicles will occur. Tree damage is likely. This dangerous storm will be near Avon Park around 6:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Other locations impacted by this tornadic thunderstorm include Crooked Lake Park, Cruiseville, Frostproof, Sweetwater, and Avon Park Executive Airport. Take cover now. If your home is flooded, avoid flood waters. If possible, take shelter in an interior room. Avoid windows. If you are outdoors, in a mobile home, or in a vehicle, move to the closest substantial shelter and protect yourself from flying debris. Repeating, a tornado warning has been issued until 6:45 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time for the following counties in Florida, Hardee, and Polk. The tornado warning for northwestern Highlands, eastern Hardee, south central Polk, and northeastern DeSoto counties is canceled. The storm which prompted the warning has weakened below severe limits and no longer appears capable of producing a tornado. Therefore, the warning has been canceled. A tornado watch remains in effect until 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time for Central Florida. These are the 6 a.m. observations for the local area on Wednesday, August 30th. At Tampa International, rain and fog were reported, reducing the visibility to 2.5 miles. The temperature was 82 degrees, the dew point 79, and the relative humidity 90%. The wind was south at 32 miles an hour, gusting to 58. The pressure was 29.57 inches and rising. At St. Pete Clearwater Airport, it was cloudy. Visibility 8 miles. Wind was south at 35 miles an hour. And the pressure was 29.55 inches and rising. At downtown St. Petersburg, light rain and fog were reported. The temperature was 81 degrees, the dew point 80, and the relative humidity 97%. The wind was southwest at 24 miles an hour, gusting to 43. The pressure was 29.55 inches and rising. At Lakeland Linder International, it was cloudy. The temperature was 79 degrees, the dew point 77, and the relative humidity 94%. The wind was south at 15 miles an hour, gusting to 23. The pressure was 29.63 inches and rising. Elsewhere around the region, rain was falling with a temperature of 79 at Bartow, 80 at Orlando, 84 at Sarasota Bradenton Airport, and 82 at Punta Gorda. At Fort Myers, it was mostly cloudy with a temperature of 85. It was cloudy with a temperature of 81 at Brooksville, 82 at Plant City Municipal Airport, 79 at Kissimmee, and 84 at Venice Municipal Airport. At MacDill Air Force Base, rain and fog were reported with a temperature of 82. At Winter Haven, rain and fog were reported with a temperature of 79. Marine reports along the coast and offshore buoys. At the Sea Man site at Cedar Key, winds were south at 36 knots. Air temperature 80 degrees. At the Sea Man site at Venice, winds were south at 34 knots. Sea temperature 85 degrees. Air temperature 85 degrees. 100 miles west of Bayport, winds were from the west at 31 knots. Sea temperature 85 degrees. Air temperature 82. Wave height 14 feet. Wave period 8 seconds. The report from 210 miles west of Captiva was not available. A storm surge warning remains in effect and a hurricane warning remains in effect for the following counties in Florida: coastal Citrus, coastal Hernando, coastal Hillsborough, coastal Levy, coastal Manatee, coastal Pasco, inland Citrus, and Pinellas.
Piscisc nou Aguater Radio KHB 32, Servint de Tampa Bay Area, ona frecuencia 162.55 MHz.
The current time is 6:31 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Flood warning remains in effect from Thursday afternoon to Saturday morning. What minor flooding is forecast? Where? Al-Afai River at Lithia. When? From Thursday afternoon to Saturday morning. Impacts at 13 feet, River Drive and Squirrel Runway downstream of County Road 640 are completely covered by water. One home begins to flood. Additional details at 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time Tuesday. The stage was 5.0 feet. Bankful stage is 13 feet. Forecast: the river is expected to rise above flood stage Friday morning to a crest of 13.1 feet Friday morning. It will then fall below flood stage late Friday morning. Flood stage is 13 feet. Flood history: this crest compares to a previous crest of 13.1 feet on June 14, 1933. https www.weather.gov/safety/flood. Flood warning now in effect from early this morning to late this evening. What moderate flooding is occurring and major flooding is forecast? This will approach or surpass the flood record. Where? Alphi River at Riverview near US 301. When? From early this morning to late this evening. Additional details at 4 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time Wednesday. The stage was 5.4 feet. Bankful stage is 4.2 feet. Recent activity, the maximum river stage in the 24 hours ending at 4 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time Wednesday was 5.4 feet. Forecast, the river will oscillate above flood stage with a maximum value of 6.5 feet late this morning. It will fall below flood stage late this afternoon. Flood stage is 4.2 feet. Flood history, this crest compares to a previous crest of 6.2 feet on September 6, 2004. https www.weather.gov/safety/flood turnaround. Don't drown when encountering flooded roads. Most flood deaths occur in vehicles. Caution is urged when walking near riverbanks. Motorists should not attempt to drive around barricades or drive cars through flooded areas. Additional information is available at www.weather.gov. The next statement will be by noon this evening at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. A hurricane warning remains in effect for the following counties: in Florida, inland Hernando, inland Hillsborough, inland Levy, inland Manatee, inland Pasco, and Sumter. The National Weather Service has issued Tornado Watch number 6. Hillsborough, Pasco, Pinellas, and Polk, and Tampa Bay waters. Remember, a tornado watch means the conditions are favorable for the development of severe weather, including tornadoes, large hail, and damaging winds in and close to the watch area. While severe weather may not be imminent, persons should remain alert for rapidly changing weather conditions and listen for later statements and possible warnings. Stay tuned to NOAA weather radio, commercial radio and television outlets, or internet sources for the latest severe weather information. Repeating, Tornado Watch number 661 has been issued until 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time for the following counties: in Florida, Hillsborough, Pasco, Pinellas, and Polk, and Tampa Bay waters. Tornado Watch number 660 has been allowed to expire for the following counties: in Florida, Hardee, and Manatee. Repeating, the Tornado Watch number 660 has been allowed to expire for the following counties: in Florida, Hardee, and Manatee. Tornado Watch number 660 has been allowed to expire for the following marine location: coastal waters from Englewood to Tarpon Springs out 20 nautical miles. Repeating, the Tornado Watch number 660 has been allowed to expire for the following marine location: coastal waters from Englewood to Tarpon Springs out 20 nautical miles. A tropical storm warning remains in effect for the following counties: in Florida, DeSoto, Hardee, inland Charlotte, inland Lee, inland Sarasota, and Polk. The National Weather Service in Ruskin has issued a tornado warning for northwestern Highlands County in south central Florida, eastern Hardee County in central Florida, south central Polk County in central Florida, until 6:45 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. At 6:19 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located 11 miles southeast of Wauchula, moving north at 45 miles an hour. Hazard: tornado. Source: radar indicated rotation. Impact: flying debris will be dangerous to those caught without shelter. Mobile homes will be damaged or destroyed. Damage to roofs, windows, and vehicles will occur. Tree damage is likely. This dangerous storm will be near Avon Park around 6:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Other locations impacted by this tornadic thunderstorm include Crooked Lake Park, Cruiseville, Frostproof, Sweetwater, and Avon Park Executive Airport. Take cover now. If your home is flooded, avoid flood waters. If possible, take shelter in an interior room. Avoid windows. If you are outdoors, in a mobile home, or in a vehicle, move to the closest substantial shelter and protect yourself from flying debris. Repeating, a tornado warning has been issued until 6:45 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time for the following counties: in Florida, Hardee, and Polk. These are the 6 a.m. observations for the local area on Wednesday, August 30th. At Tampa International, rain and fog were reported, reducing the visibility to 2½ miles. The temperature was 82 degrees, the dew point 79, and the relative humidity 90%. The wind was south at 32 miles an hour, gusting to 58. The pressure was 29.57 inches and rising. At St. Pete Clearwater Airport, it was cloudy. Visibility 8 miles. Wind was south at 35 miles an hour. And the pressure was 29.55 inches and rising. At downtown St. Petersburg, light rain and fog were reported. The temperature was 81 degrees, the dew point 80, and the relative humidity 97%. The wind was southwest at 24 miles an hour, gusting to 43. The pressure was 29.55 inches and rising. At Lakeland Linder International, it was cloudy. The temperature was 79 degrees, the dew point 77, and the relative humidity 94%. The wind was south at 15 miles an hour, gusting to 23. The pressure was 29.63 inches and rising. Elsewhere around the region, rain was falling with a temperature of 79 at Bartow, 80 at Orlando, 84 at Sarasota Bradenton Airport, and 82 at Punta Gorda. At Fort Myers, it was mostly cloudy with a temperature of 85. It was cloudy with a temperature of 81 at Brooksville, 82 at Plant City Municipal Airport, 79 at Kissimmee, and 84 at Venice Municipal Airport. At MacDill Air Force Base, rain and fog were reported with a temperature of 82. At Winter Haven, rain and fog were reported with a temperature of 79. Marine reports along the coast and offshore buoys. At the Sea Man site at Cedar Key, winds were south at 36 knots. Air temperature 80 degrees. At the Sea Man site at Venice, winds were south at 34 knots. Sea temperature 85 degrees. Air temperature 85 degrees. 100 miles west of Bayport, winds were from the west at 31 knots. Sea temperature 85 degrees. Air temperature 82. Wave height 14 feet. Wave period 8 seconds. The report from 210 miles west of Captiva was not available. A storm surge warning remains in effect and a hurricane warning remains in effect for the following counties in Florida: coastal Citrus, coastal Hernando, coastal Hillsborough, coastal Levy, coastal Manatee, coastal Pasco, inland Citrus, and Pinellas. The current time is 6:40 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Flood warning remains in effect from Thursday afternoon to Saturday morning. What minor flooding is forecast? Where? Al-Afai River at Lithia. When? From Thursday afternoon to Saturday morning. Impacts at 13 feet. River Drive and Squirrel Runway downstream of County Road 640 are completely covered by water. One home begins to flood. Additional details at 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time Tuesday. The stage was 5.0 feet. Bankfull stage is 13 feet. Forecast: the river is expected to rise above flood stage Friday morning to a crest of 13.1 feet Friday morning. It will then fall below flood stage late Friday morning. Flood stage is 13 feet. Flood history: this crest compares to a previous crest of 13.1 feet on June 14, 1933. https www.weather.gov/safety/flood. Flood warning now in effect from early this morning to late this evening. What moderate flooding is occurring and major flooding is forecast? This will approach or surpass the flood record. Where? Al-Afai River at Riverview near US 301. When? From early this morning to late this evening. Additional details at 4 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time Wednesday. The stage was 5.4 feet. Bankfull stage is 4.2 feet. Recent activity: the maximum river stage in the 24 hours ending at 4 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time Wednesday was 5.4 feet. Forecast: the river will oscillate above flood stage with a maximum value of 6.5 feet late this morning. It will fall below flood stage late this afternoon. Flood stage is 4.2 feet. Flood history: this crest compares to a previous crest of 6.2 feet on September 6, 2004. https www.weather.gov/safety/flood turnaround. Don't drown when encountering flooded roads. Most flood deaths occur in vehicles. Caution is urged when walking near riverbanks. Motorists should not attempt to drive around barricades or drive cars through flooded areas. Additional information is available at www.weather.gov. The next statement will be issued by noon this evening at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. A hurricane warning remains in effect for the following counties: in Florida, inland Hernando, inland Hillsborough, inland Levy, inland Manatee, inland Pasco, and Sumter. The National Weather Service has issued Tornado Watch number 661, effective until 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. This watch includes the following counties: in Florida, Hillsborough, Pasco, Pinellas and Polk, and Tampa Bay waters. Remember, a tornado watch means the conditions are favorable for the development of severe weather, including tornadoes, large hail and damaging winds, in and close to the watch area. While severe weather may not be imminent, persons should remain alert for rapidly changing weather conditions and listen for later statements and possible warnings. Stay tuned to NOAA weather radio, commercial radio and television outlets, or internet sources for the latest severe weather information. Repeating, Tornado Watch number 661 has been issued until 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time for the following counties: in Florida, Hillsborough, Pasco, Pinellas and Polk, and Tampa Bay waters. Tornado Watch number 660 has been allowed to expire for the following counties: in Florida, Hardee and Manatee. Repeating, the Tornado Watch number 660 has been allowed to expire for the following counties: in Florida, Hardee and Manatee. Tornado Watch number 660 has been allowed to expire for the following marine location: coastal waters from Englewood to Tarpon Springs out 20 nautical miles. Repeating, the Tornado Watch number 660 has been allowed to expire for the following marine location: coastal waters from Englewood to Tarpon Springs out 20 nautical miles. A tropical storm warning remains in effect for the following counties: in Florida, DeSoto, Hardee, inland Charlotte, inland Lee, inland Sarasota, and Polk. The National Weather Service in Ruskin has issued a tornado warning for northwestern Highlands County in south central Florida, eastern Hardee County in central Florida, south central Polk County in central Florida, until 6:45 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. At 6:19 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located 11 miles southeast of Wauchula, moving north at 45 miles an hour. Hazard: tornado. Source: radar indicated rotation. Impact: flying debris will be dangerous to those caught without shelter. Mobile homes will be damaged or destroyed. Damage to roofs, windows, and vehicles will occur. Tree damage is likely. This dangerous storm will be near Avon Park around 6:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Other locations impacted by this tornadic thunderstorm include Crooked Lake Park, Cruiseville, Frostproof, Sweetwater, and Avon Park Executive Airport. Take cover now. If your home is flooded, avoid flood waters. If possible, take shelter in an interior room. Avoid windows. If you are outdoors, in a mobile home, or in a vehicle, move to the closest substantial shelter and protect yourself from flying debris. Repeating, a tornado warning has been issued until 6:45 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time for the following counties: in Florida, Hardee, and Polk. This is NOAA Weather Radio KHP 32 Tampa Bay, the voice of the National Weather Service, broadcasting at a frequency of 162.55 megahertz. The tower for KHP 32 is located in Riverview in Hillsborough County and serves west central Florida, with programming originating from the National Weather Service office in Ruskin. The station provides warning alerts for Hillsborough, Pinellas, Pasco, Polk, Hardee, and Manatee counties. The Tampa climate summary for yesterday, August 29th, 2023. Yesterday's high temperature was 90 degrees. This high was 1 degree below the normal high of 91. The record high is 97 degrees, which was set in 1951. Yesterday's low temperature was 78 degrees. This low was 1 degree above the normal low of 77. The record low is 69 degrees, which was set in 1969. 1.12 inches of precipitation fell yesterday, which brings the monthly total to 8.38 inches. This is 0.09 inches below the normal amount of 8.47 inches for August. The total precipitation for the season since June 1st now stands at 15.42 inches, which is 8.17 inches below normal. The total precipitation for the year is now 22.77 inches, which is 13.76 inches below normal. There were no heating degree days yesterday, and there were 19 cooling degree days yesterday. Yesterday, the maximum wind observed was 26 miles an hour from the south. The highest wind gust observed was 40 miles per hour from the south. The humidity was 96%, and the minimum relative humidity was 68%. The normal high temperature for today is 91 degrees, and the normal low is 77. The record high for today is 96, which last occurred in 1951, and the record low is 66, which occurred in 1896. Sunrise today is at 7:08 a.m. and sunset is at 7:53 p.m. The current time is 6:48 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. A hurricane warning remains in effect for the following counties: in Florida, inland Hernando, inland Hillsborough, inland Levy, inland Manatee, inland Pasco, and Sumter. A tropical storm warning remains in effect for the following counties: in Florida, DE Soto, Hardee, inland Charlotte, inland Lee, inland Sarasota, and Polk. Tide forecast. At St. Petersburg, low tide Wednesday at 7:18 a.m. High tide Wednesday at 1:54 p.m. Low tide Wednesday at 9:21 p.m. A storm surge warning remains in effect, and a hurricane warning remains in effect for the following counties: in Florida, coastal Citrus, coastal Hernando, coastal Hillsborough, coastal Levy, coastal Manatee, coastal Pasco, inland Citrus, and Pinellas. Flood warning remains in effect from Thursday afternoon to Saturday morning. What minor flooding is forecast? Where? Alafai River at Lithia. When? From Thursday afternoon to Saturday morning. Impacts at 13 feet.
Want a bank without boundaries? A Tyndall First account is for you. Tyndall First is a no-fee, online-only
storm surge threat in all these Zone A's across the Gulf Coast, and probably more so than any storm that I can remember in recent years. So people understand, we've said from the beginning it was going to probably be a major hurricane, and that's what it is. And so we're here and we're ready, and we're gonna work hard on the back end to make sure everyone gets back up on their feet.
Is the message to shelter in place for all 49 counties that are under the state of emergency?
So it's if you're in a part, there's counties where the storms pass, so there may be some outer bands. That's not necessarily saying shelter. Saying if you're in the path of where the eye wall's going, at this point you got to hunker down. And so those Big Bend counties, as we get into north central Florida, you're in jeopardy at that point. And so it's really those places where it's going to hit the eye wall, where the eye wall's coming in, to be able to not mess with it. It's going to be a significant impact.
Any concerns about the 100 that decided to stay on Cedar Key?
Well, sure. I think that it's a hazardous situation. If you end up with storm surge that even approaches that 16 feet, the chance of surviving that is not great. You would need to be maybe even like on a 3-story building, because it is going to rise very, very highly. But there were some people. Now, most people did heed the warning, but there were some that that's what they wanted to do. And so once this passes, there will be rescue efforts done if need be, and hopefully it's not necessarily. Hopefully they knew what they were doing and they have a spot, but it's potentially very, very hazardous when you're talking about really anything even approaching 10 feet. But when you start talking about potentially 16 feet, that is a huge, huge deal.
Yesterday, the expectation was that there would be 40,000 electrical linemen in state to respond to the restoration effort. Did we
what are the well? We said up to. We said probably between 30 and 40, and that's where we're at.
We're between 30 and 40.
Yeah.
We haven't talked to the crews this morning because they're actually out in the field doing what they're doing. So I'm not so much worried about the numbers right now as much as we are getting the power restored. So.
Yep. Oh.
Do you think that Florida caught a break here in the fact that this is hitting the Big Bend and not areas like the Tampa Bay area?
Well, it's not a break for the people that are in the pathway. So I think it's anytime you have it, it's difficult. If you just look at the way Florida is cut, to have something go in this Big Bend, and it's going to be to Georgia relatively soon. Whereas
and pardon the interruption here, but I do have to dip in and get to a quick commercial break here in just a second. Right now, of course, this is a live look of Governor Ron DeSantis and others giving an update on Hurricane Idalia. Very serious situation. We're tracking it here at Live Now from Fox all morning. Take a look at that radar. It's about to make landfall. You might have heard it from Ron DeSantis right there. The governor said at about 8 o'clock, 8 a.m. Eastern time, we expect official landfall. But you can see the waves, those bands rather, making big impacts on the state of Florida with those high winds, 130 miles an hour or over that. That's a Category 4, and that's what we're looking at right there. Stay with us. We'll get back into it after this quick commercial break. Welcome back to Live Now from Fox as we take a live look outside there, checking in on some of the action here with Hurricane Idalia. This is in Hudson, Florida. That's in the Tampa region. So you can see some flooding, heavy rains, pretty intense winds in that neck of the woods. But you can be assured that things farther up north are looking a lot worse than that. And that is our concern, something we are keeping an eye on here at Live Now from Fox. Take a look at that. That's why I'm talking about farther up the state, because in that Big Bend region of Florida, that's where landfall is expected. We just heard from Governor Ron DeSantis. That press conference just wrapped up a bit ago, and he says around 8 a.m. is when official landfall will happen. But well before that even happens, you see the impacts being felt from the southern part of the state all the way through up to the panhandle of Florida. This is going to impact a lot of different states, including Georgia, and moving through the Carolinas, where eventually it'll make its way out into the Atlantic Ocean. But until that time, we're dealing with it, and it's dumping a ton of rain all over the place. In fact, Live Now, where we're broadcasting from this morning, is in Orlando, Florida. So we're certainly keeping an eye on everything happening in that neck of the woods. Expected tropical storm force winds in that area. So that's the big problem there. And also some heavy downpours, potential flooding. Not necessarily a meteorologist, but I get to play one on TV. But we also check in with our friends at Fox Weather to get that latest information and bring it to you here on Live Now from Fox. I'm looking at my feeds right now, trying to see what we can dip into here real quick. They might go to a commercial break, but I think we'll go to it anyway. So we're going to go to Fox 35, speaking of Orlando, and see what they have to say about some of that rain, intense wind, and what Central Florida can expect. Take a listen.
Street to 107th place. Looking for a couplet here. Our inbound and outbound winds now as we move around. Not seeing a very definitive view, but what we do have are some very strong winds. A big veil of that now. Moving northeasterly at probably darn close to 55 miles per hour. So if you are in the path of this, get you some locations here in just a quick minute. Want you to seek shelter right now. Stay in your hunker down zone, if you will, with Camp Roosevelt, Huntington, and the city of Ocala in the polygon at this time. So as you draw out a track for you, looks like this is heading up out toward the Burbank area. We'll be in Ocala. That's how fast this is moving, going from here to the city of Ocala in approximately 7 minutes time. Very strong winds now associated with this cell. We've watched a couple of these big rain bands move out of Dunnell and southwestern Marion, make a turn now and ride up on that southwesterly wind, which has increased some. That is the now basically the mechanism, the driving mechanism to transport all this foul weather off to the north and east now. So there's a look at it. Got a couple lightning strikes, and not very typical of a tropical weather scene, but just shedding light on how strong this particular storm is. Very heavy rain now around the west side of Camp Roosevelt. We're talking about 6 inches per hour potentially within this as it moves up toward Ocala. So Ocala, looks like your rainfall rate is going to increase big time here. You can see on the northern edge there about 5 inches per hour, 6 inches here. And looking again for that couplet as Allison scans around, hard to find as it's likely buried here in the radar imagery as the rain is that heavy right now. So need you to stay in your tight, safe place at this time. Know that the winds have increased. We're looking for gusts over 50 miles per hour, keeping in mind tropical storm force begins at 39 miles per hour. So we're exceeding that now. So moderately strong tropical storm force riding through this particular area now and driving this active tornado warned area. If we could just pull out just a little bit, tornado warning, thank you, Allison, until 7:30 for Marion County. You can see the shade here, very heavy rain. Right now, this is located over toward the Ocala Waterway community and heading into Ocala at this time. Now we've got a revamp on the arrival in Ocala, roughly at about 12 minutes time. So we'll say, again, sometimes it fluctuates. Within the next 10 to 12 minutes, we'll be arriving there on the south side of Ocala. Here's some tracking for you now as we look down the line from this storm. We've got 11 minutes in Hawthorne, Interlochen 15 minutes, Keystone Heights over to Hampton within about 25 minutes. So again, the legacy of these tornado-warned areas now is how quickly they're moving now, being pushed along by a strengthened southwesterly wind flow. Again, as we look for Idalia to make an impact, probably within about the next 45 minutes to 50 minutes as it slides ashore there over the northern Big Bend. And what we're finding now is that the energy from that is radiating out to the east. So buried within that are these very tremendous rain bands. And you can see the gustiest winds associated with this now over southeast 59th Street. There's Shady on up toward Ocala there, Maricamp over to Montague and Camp Roosevelt. The South Pine Ave right through here. And it looks as though we continue around the southeast 73rd Street area. That continues out with heavy rain out toward I-75. So that whole area. We also see heavy rain now at Cotton Plant, Martell to Mount Olive. So that whole area is lit up now, and that expands all the way to Reddick and into the Citra area. Look at the 3D view here. We can actually go in and kind of examine the guts of this particular storm, and it is flashing again. A little bit of energy, right? It's getting a little bit of a boost. We got a little bit of an updraft here. The air tumbling around inside that, and that is demonstrating and showing us that it is producing some lightning. That's how strong it is with very heavy rain. If you're just joining us now, just to reset, I'd like a bigger view here, Allison, if you wouldn't mind. A tornado warning for Marion County until 7:30 this Wednesday morning. So extremely heavy rain right in through that line. Now these rain bands continue to spiral out of the east side of Idalia, moving in toward now, working inland. We've got another one loading up here as well. A heads up for those of you out at Citrus and Levy County there along Highway 19. Looks like, again, the core of this, though, is right around US 27 and in through Ocala. So it does look and appear now that Camp Roosevelt has the heaviest rain. Still looking for a couplet here to see some type of rotation. Sometimes they just don't show. And at other times, it merely manifests as just some very heavy winds that are moving through the region. So some of these winds sparking up in excess of 50 to 55 miles per hour. So I mentioned to you just seconds ago, right? We talk about the impactful nature of these winds. 39 plus miles per hour is a tropical storm type wind scenario. So that's what we're finding now across this portion of Marion County. And you can see the winds working toward the radar site in these upper 40s in some of these locations. Right now, South Pine Ave has got some of the heavier winds, and looking at now the area of concern, much of this again expanding out from Southeast 42nd, 41st Street or 41st Place there and over toward Southeast 52nd Street. So Camp Roosevelt right now, Southeast Lake Weir Ave, and on down to Southeast 59th Street. That is the core of the heaviest winds at this time. So if you're just joining us, tornado warning for Marion County until 7:30. Ocala involved in the fray here. Very, very heavy rain at this time. Right now, we're going to head over to Allison Gargaro in the Fox 35 Storm Center. Al, what are you seeing on your end?
Well, we are still monitoring some very strong winds, but right now, like Jamie was doing such a great job at showing, we're not necessarily seeing that couplet, but take a look at sustained winds right now, just south of Ocala, anywhere from 40 to about 36 miles per hour. So we have Ocala right through the center, Camp Roosevelt, also Merritt Camp there, Silver Springs. You're technically not in this tornado warned area, but it's important to know that all of the showers and heavy rain, as well as those strong winds, have been moving off to the north and east. So you need to be keeping your eyes and ears and sticking with us here at Fox 35. I do want to take you out to our rotation, which would show if we do see anything. And right now, our Fox 35 Storm Tracker radar not showing much. What we do know within this tornado warned storm, again, tornado warning going until 7:30 this morning, is some very heavy rain. So we can take you out to our rain rate, and that is going to be showing some of the heaviest rain is just to the north of Ocala there. You can see the purples right along Highway 25, just to the east of I-75. Right now, about 5 to 6 inches per hour. Now, you're likely not going to be seeing that much rain at one time. Basically, what that says is there's a lot of rain in a very short amount of time. So we are going to continue to take you out to our reflectivity, and the power of Fox 35 Storm Tracker radar is that we can get down to street level. So we have Ocala here. Likely some of the heaviest winds, are going to be near Camp Roosevelt. We do have South Pine Street, Southeast 19th Ave, Southeast 31st Street. We do have a Southeast 25th Ave as well, and then County Road 475. You live in this area, you have family or friends, let them know that in this tornado warned storm that we're asking that folks get away from any doors or windows. You want to get away from glass. So if there's any flying debris, that could be tearing down the windows, and we want to make sure that you and your family are staying safe. That is our #1 goal here in the Fox 35 Storm Center. And if we just take you out a little bit more, you can see exactly where the tornado warned area is, and there's still some heavy rain off to the south. We have Iverness and then Bellevue, even the Villages, Fruitland Park, Leesburg. You've been rather dry over the last few hours, but this is going to be another line, and hey, it looks like another one is loading up just to the east of Chiefland. Within these outer rain bands of Idalia, we could be seeing that rotation. And that's exactly why we're continuing to monitor this tornado warning. That does include Ocala right along the I-75 corridor. Let's call it from Southwest 135th Street all the way up to Northeast 35th Street. If you live in the area, important to make sure that you're staying weather aware. And Jamie, we've been talking about this. The tornado watch extended until 3 p.m. across the viewing area. And this is exactly what we're likely going to see through that time.
Exactly. So it's all about the rain bands now, Allison. As we suspected the hunch was, and the writing on the wall, honestly, 3-4 hours ago when we started our shift, we said, you know what, these rain bands, once we start approaching landfall, like they always do, they just spread out far and wide. So as Allison showed us here, that's the active tornado warned area till 7:30 for Marion County. Ocala heads up there, but you see another rain band loading here that has gone through Chiefland. At any time, these tropical tornadoes can develop. They can turn nasty in really quick fashion. I think the good news in that is that, well, there's no good news in a nasty storm, but the good news is that they don't last terribly long in one spot, but they can be very, very destructive as they move across. What we've seen this morning is we haven't seen what we call ground truth, right? Actual funnel coming down from the sky has not been seen by trained skywarn spotters or anything like that. So these are all what we call radar indicated. But radar indicated or not, you need to be in your safe spot. And with us here here in the Fox 35 Storm Center as these things move across very, very quickly at this time. I want to take you down here, show you again more live radar here for you from Huntington to Montague, Merricamp over to Camp Roosevelt. The heaviest rain right now seemingly falling in this belt right here, Southwest 42nd Street. Maybe if you live up at Southeast 8th Street, I can see a lot of neighborhoods, a lot of population surrounding the city center of Ocala. Want you all to stay in your safe spots there as this is racing to the northeast at this time. So as we look down the line, as far as the storm tracking is concerned, you can see Reddick in about 4 minutes, the Ocklawaha River in 18 minutes, Lake Ocklawaha 26 minutes, and an interlocking to Palatka in Putnam County. I know I've got a few viewers there over in Palatka and Willac on the St. Johns River. If you're watching, a heads up to you. Time now to prepare for this storm as it moves your way. Looking at McIntosh, the Reddick down to Highway 301. That's a very, very heavy rain signature and will continue now until this is totally out of the area. But the tail end of this now, or the upper tier of this, I should say, right around Highway 200. This is eastern Alachua County into the Gainesville area, just light rain. If you are in Bellevue right now, it does look like, again, this is going to stay just to your west. And it looks like we may have gotten an update. I'm going to break here for the touchscreen for just a second. Okay, it looks like this has been canceled now, Allison. So we have dropped the tornado warned area in Marion County. Just confirm for me on the other screen there.
Yes.
Are we seeing that right now?
I do not see it.
Okay,
no.
all right, but the polygon is gone, so
Yes.
they probably have abruptly canceled that. So that's how quickly these things can develop and how quickly these things can fade away. What do you got?
Yeah, just a few things that I wanted to bring you an update on. We did get the latest update on our hurricane, and we're now 125 mile per hour sustained winds, so it dropped just a bit. But want to let you know that does not mean the intensity has dropped at all. I mean, this is a major hurricane. We are getting reports of 81 mile per hour wind gusts at Horseshoe Beach and Dixie County under an extreme wind warning. So there is a lot going on as Idalia is moving closer and closer to making landfall, likely somewhere close to Taylor County.
Right, extreme wind warning, so imminent, right?
Yes.
Either happening now or about to happen as we approach a strike here there in the Gulf of Mexico. So again, some live looks around town. We continue with gusty winds in the coastal zones, Daytona Beach on the Hard Rock Hotel Camp. You can see a little spray here as the waves break, a little spray coming off the backside. That's kind of indicative of more of an offshore, even side offshore wind, kind of a south-southwest wind. We really never saw an onshore wind due to the circumstance of the wind field around Idalia. Right now, we've got breezes at Titusville in Brevard County. This is one of our newer cameras, the VAB on the backside here along the Indian River, obscured a little bit by some distant showers, but the flags are waving and winds increasing across the region at this time. So we're watching and tracking, looking at these rain bands coming across now. You can see we've got another one down here and through the Ocala area. That's the one that was the signature tornadic warn area that is now decreased in intensity. The villages, you'll have some rain moving in. Looks like the villages in about 4 minutes, and again down the line, Palatka and Putnam County within about the next 35 to 40 minutes or so. Claremont's got some heavy rain right now. Mineola over to Dundee. Good morning to you in Leesburg. You've got 4 minutes until heavy rain moves into your area, and Lake Harris as well at 7 minutes at this time. And also down the Florida Turnpike, here's a look at Kissimmee and 192 at the Turnpike intersection there, out to Lake Buena Vista, out toward Armandale. We continue with very heavy rain. So Allison, again, as we suspected earlier, these rain bands are now again emanating out of the eastern side of Idalia. So while we have the extreme wind warned areas and the upper Gulf Coast, far-reaching impacts. And that was our messaging all along, that happens when you've got a system in the Gulf of Mexico.
That's exactly right. And we've been seeing those very strong winds, not only at the center of circulation, right now sustained winds just outside the eye wall ranging anywhere from 55 to about 85 miles per hour. Again, that's sustained, meaning we're likely seeing gusts much, much higher. And as we get into the outer eye wall, that's where we're going to be seeing some of the strongest winds, and it's going to continue to inch closer and closer to the coast, Jamie.
All righty, we're going to head on back to the news desk right now. Amy and Ryan, over to you, please.
All right, thank you both. Yeah, glad that expired early because 7:30 would have been a long time to be on alert there. So glad they're going to be okay there in Ocala, Marion
Amazing how quickly it can come and go during these storms.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to check back in with David Martin when we come back. So you
He's
don't
in
want to miss
Dixie County, certainly where they're getting the worst of this. We'll check in with David and much more straight ahead.
I'm John Brown. Join me tonight.
And thanks to our friends over there at Fox 35 Orlando. We'll keep an eye on their coverage throughout the morning, but also we've got Fox Weather and also Fox 13 in Tampa covering this hurricane pretty extensively here. So we got a lot of information, a lot of different looks, and we got this look right here. This is our XRAD weather radar. And again, I like to point out, as we do look at this, you can see the eye of the storm starting to creep closer and closer to the Florida coast. Of course, when that does make landfall, or it's considered making landfall when that eye does get over the land there. But of course, you're going to be feeling those impacts in that neck of the woods well before landfall officially happens. So it's kind of just a moment to mark in the history of this hurricane, but the impacts are absolutely being felt there. Devastating winds, intense winds. This is now a Category 3, though. We just learned that in the latest update. It is has winds sustained of 125 miles an hour, but that doesn't really mean a whole heck of a lot. This is still a very intense storm, a very large storm. And if you see, again, where the eye is, where it's meeting the land right there, or about to, look at the bands and how far they stretch. We're down here in Orlando, Florida. We're getting some of those bands, as a matter of fact. So this is impacting a number of areas. In fact, it will go into Georgia, move its way across the Carolinas, and then hopefully at that point dissipate into the Atlantic Ocean. Of course, that all remains to be seen. We're tracking all of it for you here on Live Now from Fox. Let's go ahead and take a quick live look outside as well. This is Hudson, Florida. So this looked a lot worse just a second ago, but as it's starting to lighten up, you can really get an idea of that storm surge they're seeing in that neck of the woods. You see that water just coming over the edge there and causing some flooding issues. Not looking terribly awful, not an ideal situation, but it could be a lot worse there. And in fact, up north, I just want to go back to that radar real quick. You can see where it's landing right there. Storm surges, complete opposite of what you just saw on the screen, possibly up to 15 feet in some places, near record or record-setting storm surge. And as I've said many times this morning, that part of the storm, that storm surge, is one of the most deadly parts, of course, combined with that wind and debris and all that sort of thing. But that flooding can certainly be devastating. We'll bring it all for you, or to you here on Live Now from Fox. So stick with us throughout the day. I do want to get to a quick commercial break, then we're going to go back and check with our friends over at Fox Weather for a report out of Florida. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. Want to go back to our friends over at Fox 35 Orlando and they're in a live report right now looking at some of the conditions in that neck of the woods. It's actually, this is in Cross City, Dixie County. You see that at the bottom there. Let's go up and bring up the audio. Looks like we're getting a live interview here. Interesting. Okay.
10 years, but you've been at the lodge for 30.
Wow. Well, we've been trying to buy it for 30, but we got it 10 years ago, and it's been a journey.
Yeah, and you've had storms up and down this area many, many years. How do you rank Idalia?
This is probably a little stronger than anything else we've had. The building's 100 years old, very strong, built very well by the lumber company.
You've done some assessment already. You've lost a few trees in the backyard.
Yeah, well, a couple of palm trees have toppled over. and we know we're going to have a lot of tree damage.
You sold out last night because you had a lot of evacuees from Cedar Key.
Yeah, we did them, and then Duke Energy's coming in with the power crews on Thursday to take the entire hotel to start making repairs for the community.
You don't have issues with flooding here typically, do you?
No, we're outside the flood zone. The Highway 19 is a boundary for the flood zone, and we're at elevation 41. So it's just ponding water that we get from any rain that we have.
So for you, wind is the issue?
Wind is the issue, yeah.
Yeah. How are the guests faring? I know a lot of them are new to this area and they're new to storms.
They're grateful. Most of the guests that aren't officials here are residents that have evacuated from the coast, and we are accepting pets because that's their family.
Yeah, of course. Do you have anybody in Cedar Key that you know, or did you live down there? You're from that area, aren't you?
No, we're from Tampa. We came up here 30 years ago. We've been up here 30 years.
Yeah, but you know what it's like down there in Cedar Key. We've been following some of our friends down there. Yeah. Storm surge is getting up there.
Yeah, they're right on the point, so it's hard to stop it. And Cedar Key's been wiped out a couple times, but they've rebuilt.
As we speak, your power has gone out.
Yep,
we did not plan that, of course, but what do you have for backup?
Just for lighting, for safety, and refrigeration.
All right, we are now officially dark here in Cross City, Dixie County, Amy and Ryan. We're going to let Ed get back to the hotel and get those generators turned on.
Generators going.
All right, get into safety. Woo, that's picking up something fierce. My goodness, thank you, Ed. So Amy and Ryan, fluid conditions out here, but definitely the strongest we've seen all night and all morning yet. We'll send it back to you in the studio.
Didn't take long for that prediction to come true. Stay safe out there, Dave.
Yeah, what are the odds we were live on the air?
And let's just switch between our feeds. We got a live hit over with our friends at Fox 13 Tampa. Let's go to that and bring up the audio and listen in and see what's going on there.
This USPS, the blue box there for the mail, I feel like that's a good benchmark to kind of let you see how high this water is. This is a construction zone. I believe this is a condo building that's going to be going in here in the next couple of years. But it's just getting washed out. You'll notice the porta-john right there that is just kind of tipped over. We knew from the beginning this would not be a wind event so much as a water event. And that's what it is. It's also easy just to forget. You think you hear storm surge and you think it's always going to come in like a tidal wave at one moment. But this has been very gradual, very incremental, and it can sneak up on you. And I think that is also the danger in these conditions. So we're keeping our eyes out. We are. It just keeps climbing the water level. I'm looking at these benches right now. I feel like the water is about to hit the seat. But we're going to be moving around in Hillsborough. We want to get over to Bayshore Boulevard, which I hear is also flooded. So that might be our next stop. We'll let you know what we find.
Take care, and we'll talk again soon. Thanks. And we're going to check back in Citrus County now.
And we've got Regina Gonzalez. She's in Crystal River for us right now. Good morning, Regina. How does it look there? I know you were driving around earlier this morning.
Good morning, Laura. Yeah, it's been the most interesting time out here over the last couple of hours because as we deal with the outer bands of Idalia, you've had moments where we joined you in the last hour. It was raining sideways. You had really strong wind gusts, and we saw roads start to flood. That storm surge was starting to push its way in. And right now, the wind is definitely still picking up a bit, but it's completely dry. We've definitely, you might be able to see some traffic here behind me. We have certainly noticed that as this storm surge starts to push in, we actually last hour saw a family and their dog in a car. It appeared that they realized at the last minute that, hey, maybe we can't ride this out. Maybe we need to leave. It's also been interesting to see. So this racetrack gas station that I'm standing next to right now is actually open. They're not selling gas, but you could see cars pulling in here. There's an employee in there. This convenience store is open. Wawa was holding strong for a minute. They were open. You had Circle K. So a lot of businesses were trying to ride this out too and trying to be here for the locals as long as they can. I want to talk about that storm surge and the flooding that we started to see for a second. I do believe we have some video that we can show you because within the last couple of hours, my photographer Joe and I were driving around as safely as we could trying to see how these coastal communities were doing. And a place that we visited was called Dixie Shores. It's a neighborhood in Crystal River. And it was about 6:30 that we were driving around there, and the water was basically parallel to the road. And there were certain ways that you could only take one road into this neighborhood. There were only certain ways you could get out, and water was really starting to rise in those areas. We started to see it just flood lawns. A lot of people were still there. We did see a lot of cars in these driveways, so very concerned and worried for them right now. Crystal River and Homosassa Springs is really the huge areas of concern in Citrus County because they're just completely surrounded by water. Citrus County Sheriff Michael Prendergast actually told us that in those areas they are bracing for about 7 to about 12 feet of storm surge. So the brunt of the weather that we are expected to see in Citrus County, we're approaching that time slot. They said about between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. and then we could see some impacts well into the afternoon. Yesterday, the sheriff and his deputies and first responders were physically going around to communities in Crystal River, knocking on doors. A huge population here, a huge chunk of the population is people age 65 or older. So you've got a lot of nursing homes, a lot of senior citizens that simply just could not ride out this storm. So they had to go and help them evacuate to safer ground. So we're going to keep you updated out here as the morning goes on, but definitely some gusty wind, some people trying to get on the road at the last minute because that water is starting to make its way onto 19. So stay safe out there, guys. It's definitely picking up out here for sure.
All right, you stay safe too, Regina. We'll check in with you here in a little while. Let's get to this new video we have out of Weeki Wachee this morning. It shows a strong band of wind and rain that just swept through Hernando County. Our Mariah Harrison is monitoring the situation there, but they had to move to a safer location as things started to pick up there. You can see why. But we're going to check in with her as soon as she's able to dial in.
We'll take a break. Be right back.
And it looks like they went to a break there pretty abruptly, so what we'll do is throw up the old X-Rad weather radar, get the latest figures and kind of tracking of this hurricane. I'm trying to see. It looks like the eye is kind of dissipating. Can't really tell if it's over land yet or not. Not seeing any reports of that anywhere yet. Of course, when the eye gets over land, that is when landfall is considered to have happened. But it's kind of irrelevant also. It's kind of just a momentous point to mark in the history of this hurricane. But these winds are already being felt, and we've seen, actually, let's go to a live look right now. As a matter of fact, in Hudson, Florida, you can see some of that storm surge impacting plenty of places. This is not as bad as the Big Bend portion of Florida, but still pretty impactful. And we just saw actually in a live report with Fox 13 Tampa, they had a reporter there on the ground. You can actually just see that water beginning to rise as it made its way onto land. So pretty intense situation there. We're keeping an eye on all of it for you here on Live Now from Fox. We can expect plenty of flooding, plenty of damage, and plenty of power outages. We're tracking all of it. So what I'll do now is go to a quick commercial break before we come back to our coverage. So stay with us. We'll be back in just 2 short minutes.
precautions.
Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. Take a look at this live shot right here. This is from our friends over at Fox Weather. Let's dip into this. Go ahead and take a listen.
And its impact across Florida.
Attention, all users of the Weed Killer Roundup.
Well, that was anticlimactic. They were at the end of the live shot right there, but you got a quick look there. I believe he's in the Clearwater area. Pretty devastating situation. Heavy winds, big storm surge. You saw just for a split second there, Robert Ray just standing in the middle of all of it. Try to catch that again when it does happen. At some point, we'll dip into their coverage and try to get that for you. But right now, looking at the XRAD weather radar, once again, you can see the eye of that storm making its way towards the Florida coast. It does kind of appear like it might be over land right now, which would indicate official landfall, but we don't know that officially yet, but you can kind of see that might be the case there. But as we've been talking about in that area, huge storm surges over 10 feet in that area, near record or record setting, and then farther to the south, 4 to 7 feet of storm surge expected in around the Tampa area. So we're keeping an eye on all of that for you here on Live Now from Fox. I'm trying to look at our feeds and see what we can go to here. It looks like we do have Fox 13 Tampa is still in their coverage, and they're going through some of their live looks outside right now. Let's go ahead over to them and take a listen.
It looks like on Bayshore at this hour, but again, the water just keeps pushing over the wall. It's about as high as it can go, and I want you to think about it this way. Hillsborough Bay and Tampa Bay, it's like a big bowl, and that bowl is filled with water, and we just keep adding more water to it, so it's going to overflow. And a very simple, it makes sense, and this is what's going to happen until not only this storm pushes onshore and pushes far away, but we're going to have to get out of this southwest wind flow, which may take some time as well. I want to show you the radar because inside some of these rain bands, they're pretty hefty. You've seen winds 40, 50 miles per hour. So heads up Brooksville, Sarictown, all the way down to Land O'Lakes, and then going into Oldsmar and into the Clearwater area. So these bands of rain will continue to move onshore throughout the day. Mark, do you want me to talk to Mariah now, real quick? Okay, Russell, we're going to come back and do more, but I know Mariah wants to talk to you before she gets kind of flooded out of where she is. So why don't you go take care of that first?
All right. Well, Mariah, you're in Hernando County, is that right?
Yep, we're at Hernando Beach right now, right on the corner of the intersection of Shoreline Road and Hermosa Court. Just to kind of paint the picture of what's happening right here, this all changed in the matter of maybe 30, 45 minutes. We've been trying to do this live shot with you guys for about an hour. We got one of those strong bands that came through, and all of a sudden, we started to see the surge. So this road, this corner here, Hermosa Boulevard, Shoreline Boulevard, this was completely drivable. I could tell you 45 minutes ago, the deterioration of this road right here just kind of puts it into perspective why they put all of the mandatory evacuations in place for these coastal communities. This dumpster here that Ryan is showing us, it was about 100 feet over to the left, way closer to that power line over there. Just the force of the surge actually pushed this dumpster closer to this Sunset Grill here that's sitting right on the corner. We've been parked in about 3-4 different parking spots just trying to get a dry spot, but as soon as we get set up, the water starts to come up and we have to move again. So that's why we wanted to get to you so quickly, but it also just puts everything into perspective that we are not out of this just yet, guys.
Sure not. Looks like it's getting worse by the minute. All right, Mariah, thanks. See you in a while. All right, back to Dave we go.
Yeah, let's just go through the radar real quick and toss to Tony for just a little bit. I know we got a lot more that we need to cover, but folks, understand this. With the way the winds are set up right now, that water is going to continue to push, and I mean push toward the coast. Tony's going to talk about this in a second. Low tide just happened in Clearwater, and it was like almost 5 feet above where it should be. And we got another big high tide coming this afternoon. So we've got these bands of rain with some gusty tropical storm force winds embedded in those rain bands, and that might be the only time you get a wind gust like that. And again, the storm's about to make landfall, and this is going to be with us, Tony, pretty much throughout the right through the afternoon, a lot of these rain bands.
It's exactly pretty much as forecast in terms of a storm that's passing well enough to our west coast that we're going to miss out on the hurricane force winds, but it wasn't a storm that we were going to take lightly because we knew that once that storm passed to our north, we're going to really start to get into some of that storm surge, and that's what we're seeing now. And unfortunately, it's a threat that we're going to see much of the day today, as it's kind of this perfect storm of major hurricane passing to our west and this exaggerated tide. due to this full moon. So we have to watch this very closely. What I've got for you in terms of the update from the Hurricane Center, storm's a hair weaker. So we bumped it down to a Cat 3, as Dave was saying. It's going to make landfall as a Cat 3. Don't have that official yet. We got to wait for the center to cross into land. But the movement 18, and it'll continue to accelerate here, moving to the north and then weaken as it spills out into the Atlantic. I want to show you the winds and the wind gusts because this is important. A lot of folks wondering, okay, when are we going to get into the surge? And right now, it's really beginning to impact areas to the south, where you start to see those winds turn in from the southwest. Areas that are seeing winds out of the south are seeing some of that flooding into the bridges. So that's why a lot of those bridges are flooded and closed. And Elise Wick's been telling us about that. And then to the north, that's where you're seeing those winds that haven't quite turned on shore yet, but they will as this continues to lift to the left. So this storm will be weakening and over land. And meanwhile, we're still dealing with storm surge. And this is what it looks like in Clearwater. Mariah said it perfectly. It's the high water pushing on shore leading the flooding. That's why those evacuation orders have been issued. Because you can imagine, if not, the possibility your home becomes an island because now you're surrounded by water, and where do you go? And that leads to those high water rescues and an issue where you put yourself in harm's way. So that's why we hope that everyone that was under an evacuation order heeded those warnings and evacuated. There's the view out of Clearwater. That water is just about all the way on shore, and that's going to lead to beach erosion, as this is just the beginning. This is a graph that we look at that tells us where we are relative to where we should be. And the blue line is normal tide. Overnight, that was our normal high tide, and that's as high as we were. And the part that I've got is our low tide, because now we're about low tide. You saw all of that. We're actually low tide. And our low tide was about 4.5 feet above normal. And guess what happens? You expect the tide to kind of go out a little bit during low tide, and that's not exactly what's happening. And now as we approach our high tide here in the early afternoon, you can imagine the trajectories. We're going to continue to see areas of high water. So the timeline that you want to be mindful of in Crystal River as we approach high tide will be early in the afternoon. And you see the times on your screen there, anywhere from about 2 to maybe 3, or somewhere in that 2 to 3 o'clock time frame, maybe a little bit earlier, as we see those elevated high tide cycles here through the day today. So again, storm's going to be long gone. You're going to want to be outside and thinking the threat is over, but really it's not, because these numbers may just verify. We're already seeing a lot of areas with high water, 4 to 6 feet, the surge expected in the Bay Area. And the areas that have not seen major surge yet could still, from Pasco north up into Citrus County. I'll walk you through the timeline of the futurecast. Storm list to the north, winds come rushing in, and again, it's that wind-driven water piling on shore. That's that surge, and it's the combination of that as well as bands of heavy rain that's going to counteract any kind of showers and rain that tries to drain out. So especially in poor drainage areas, we're already seeing flooding, and we're just going to see more of those issues here through the day today. So again, be on guard. Mainly the surge is a coastal threat. If you live inland, be mindful of the possibility of some localized flooding. So again, always avoid flooded roadways. Today I got a high of 87. Windy with showers. Got to watch out for high water levels, and then tonight breezy, showers possible as well.
And if you are just joining us here on Live Now from Fox, we've been listening in live, raw, and unfiltered to our the Fox affiliate in Tampa, Fox 13. They're tracking Hurricane Idalia, of course. You just heard it. Category 3 now. I do want to switch over to Fox weather. Take a look at this video right here. They got some pretty wild situations in the Tampa area. Let's listen in.
This storm.
Yeah, that's pretty shocking to see there. I mean, especially since the fact that the roadway, it's pretty much flooded there behind you there. Have you been seeing any first responders throughout the morning since you've been there, or have they also been holding back as well?
surprisingly, that's one of the things that we were warned about by a lot of officials all over the entire viewing area here in the Bay Area of Florida, that they were saying that, once winds hit about 40 miles per hour, they may have to make the call. Well, here in Gulfport, they're very used to it. So I was speaking with some officers that were out here earlier, just making sure that all of the hurricane tourists, if you will, that were out celebrating the storm during some of its highest points, were just staying safe. They did have to make a couple of rescues from people that had ventured a little too far out on some of these docks, some of these piers, some of the parts that were a little bit higher than these parts that are closer to us. So they ended up stranded out on some of these other parts. And so there were a few rescues that had to happen this morning just to get folks back onto dry land safely. But they have been out here all morning, and they told us that, they are used to this kind of stuff. They pulled back at about 60 miles per hour sustained winds, and they said we didn't hit that. So they were just enjoying their time with all the other people that were out early this morning in the storm.
Hurricane tourist. I have never heard that term before there, but Kelly Cohen, you should officially trademark that. From Fox 13, Tampa Bay, thank you so much, and please stay safe. All right, let's head on over back to Florida here. Lee County, Florida is an area that has been devastated by last year's hurricane season.
And if you are just joining us here on Live Now from Fox, like I mentioned, we're going to dip into Fox weather for a second, but I see a live interview happening over on the Tampa station again at Fox 13 with the city manager of Clearwater. So I want to go back to that. Let's go ahead and bring up the audio and listen in.
The bridges are just closed to come back on the beach.
Okay. All right. What's your message at this point to folks?
Our message at this point would be to stay put. I know that the winds are going to start dying down, and we'll just get those, the gusts as the bands come through, but we do still have that high tide coming in this afternoon. Yeah. And so we're not going to be through the storm until after that has passed. So to please stay put, except for those obviously that are out on the beach and need to get out due to the storm conditions, then they should leave and let us know if they need help.
I'll tell you what. Watching what we're seeing this morning and the way this thing has played out, it's pretty much doing exactly what we expected it to do, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why, I think everybody did a really good job in terms of being prepared for this one. I think we learned a lot from last year's storm, including our residents, and so we're doing well so far.
All right. City Manager Jennifer Poirier, thanks for your time. Good luck, and
Thank you.
I'm sure we'll be talking along the way, okay?
All right, thank you.
Let us know if you need anything. Bye. Okay. All right, we're going to take a break. Be right back.
And we're going to take a break as well, but first we'll check out the radar and see the position of Hurricane Idalia, now a Category 3 storm. Landfall is imminent. That's what we're seeing over at Fox Weather. That's what they're reporting. So that's just kind of a mile marker sort of point in the history of this storm, but really the impacts are being felt well before landfall, of course, all throughout the state. Stay with us. We'll stay on top of all of it for you here on Live Now from Fox. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. Let's take another live look outside. This is Hudson, Florida, where you can see some of that water making its way on land, causing some flooding there and some pretty intense winds. Just take a look at Old Glory there. You see the flag in the background waving in the wind. We're seeing pretty intense winds all across Florida. In fact, it is now a Category 3. Originally, it was a Category 4. That was 130 sustained winds of 130 miles per hour. Now it has dropped below that, around 125, the last report. So that does make it a Category 3. Category 4 is actually above 130 miles per hour. So we did see it hit Category 4, but it has since gone down in intensity, but still remains a very powerful storm. Let's go ahead and bring that up and take a full live look here of the system as it makes landfall, or is about to. We haven't got the official word that it has made landfall, but you can see the eye of the storm clearly dipping over onto land. So that is officially made landfall. It's expected to downgrade to a Category 2 as it makes its way through Georgia and the Carolinas, and then hopefully eventually out into the Atlantic. We'll see if it stays with that. For now, I think what we'll do is go back over to Fox Weather. Of course, they're covering this pretty intensely over there from a lot of different angles. Hopefully, they won't be going to a break before we go to this, but let's dip in and see what they have to say.
It's going to be hard for you guys to see at home, but it's worth a try to see if you can see it. Tomas, if you can go up to the sky, you might be able to see how fast the clouds are going on top of the buildings. So this is UF Health behind me, and you can see the clouds racing by. Of course, as you go up in the atmosphere, the winds increase. And so here at the ground where we are, we've had wind gusts between 30 and 35 miles per hour. That is below tropical storm strength. So although, we got stuff moving everywhere, we truly haven't had tropical storm strength winds just yet in Gainesville. Up there, though, you can see those clouds. They are moving. They are quickly moving, and all of those associated with Hurricane Idalia. So, it's so interesting, Jason, to point out just how different conditions are across the state of Florida. Here in Gainesville, we're riding out these rain bands that continue to lash in. And the concern here is, could we get some isolated strong wind gusts that can take down trees? Trees like this. So, Tomas, this is a live oak. Tomas, my photographer, is going to focus on that. If you live down south, this is part of your backyard that you love. I mean, it's a beautiful part of living in the South are these massive live oak trees that are laced with Spanish moss. But it's trees like that can be a big concern with strong wind gusts because of their root structure. If we have ground that is overly saturated, they can come down if the winds get above 50 miles per hour. Thankfully, we haven't seen that yet in Gainesville, but the ground is saturated. I mean, look over here. This is a drainage area, so this is made to take water. The water is going to come here. There's a drainage outlet right there. But right now, as I step into this, this is a good 5 inches of water. So it represents how saturated the soils are. And when you have massive oak trees that are holding into soil that is waterlogged, a 50-mile-per-hour wind gust then turns into a threat, which can take out power. So for Gainesville, that's really what we're looking out for. Isolated strong wind gusts that can take down trees that can lead to power outages. There's other parts of the state in Florida that they have a lot more to worry about. Tallahassee is one of those spots. We have Brandy Campbell live there, Jason, and they're going to be really close to the eye wall. And that's a whole nother deal. I mean, what you're seeing right now, these are wind gusts that are getting around 35 miles per hour. We're approaching tropical storm strength, which is 39. But for Tallahassee, they could get dangerously close to that eye wall, which means winds that could be hurricane force. And there's good reason for why they actually evacuated everyone that lives in a mobile home in Tallahassee. They opened up shelters. They urged residents that live in mobile homes to get out of them and move into shelters because the weather conditions were not going to be safe to ride out in their homes. So, a lot of factors to think about. And that's just the wind component. I mean, Jason, you've been talking about the surge component so well this morning. There's a lot of factors when it comes to this storm. I mean, Hurricane Idalia really marking off everything. Surge, wind. Probably the one impact that we're not going to see a lot of is flooding because it is a fast-moving storm. It's booking it through the state, and so that does lower the concern from flooding from what is falling from the sky. The flooding that we see is going to be from storm surge. Jason?
All right, Britta, well, we have some breaking news to tell you about. A Fox weather alert. Hurricane Idalia has officially made a landfall just moments ago over in Keaton Beach, Florida. And it had max winds at 125 miles per hour. And that air pressure was at 949 millibars here. So this just happened here about 1 minute ago. Again, breaking news just into the Fox Forecast Center. Hurricane Idalia has officially made landfall here over in the Keaton Beach area with max winds of 125 miles per hour here. So no surprise here that this was happening here. We had been forewarned by the National Hurricane Center director that the landfall was going to be imminent when we spoke to him at about 6:40 here local time here. So for those of you in Florida, if you are riding out this storm, you need to take shelter immediately. Please do not be one of those hurricane tourists and go outside and try to get the video for Instagram, Facebook, and whatnot. Stay inside here because the worst of this is going to continue to push through here. Whenever we talk about landfall, just outside of the hurricane eye is what we call the eye wall. And that is where we see the worst winds, the heaviest rain, as well as even a possibility of some flash flooding here. Already this morning, we've seen several tornadoes that have been popping up not only across the Sunshine State, but even into Georgia. And speaking of Georgia, you do have tornado watches in effect here. So this is going to continue to push into Georgia and then eventually into the Carolinas. But for right now, it is largely impacting those of you in the Perry area as well as the Cedar Key area of Florida here. Gainesville right now, it has been back and forth with the rain as well as the winds here. And that is where, Britta Merwin has been here. But so Britta, we have been monitoring this situation here. I want to bring in my other colleague, Mark Sudduth here. I know that he's been in Florida. He's been monitoring this as well. Mark, where exactly are you and what are you seeing?
Well, good to be here with you. I am in Madison, Florida.
And I want to switch feeds here for a second. We got a number of feeds we can kind of cycle through here to get a variety of different shots, lots of different information. Want to go back to Fox 35 Orlando. They got a live report happening right now out of Cross City, Dixie County. Let's go to that.
That's standard fare. Not a lot of rain at this moment, not a ton of rain, but a lot of wind on this storm. Let's come on down here, Paolo, to the lobby where we've got some looky-loos out here with us this morning who just want to experience the force of Mother Nature here. Not always sure who we're going to get to, but we can ask them. Sir, good morning to you. How are you this morning? Where are you from?
Crystal River.
Crystal River. Did you evacuate?
Kind of, sort of.
Yeah. Do you have property down there?
Yeah, on the water.
Any word on how it's doing?
No, they say it's coming in. Water's coming in.
Do you have any video or photos of your property down there? Have you been able to see it at all?
No, not yet.
So when do you go back?
After the winds die down.
Yeah. How about you, sir? Where are you from?
Horseshoe Beach, Florida.
Okay. Do you have a property down there?
Yes, sir, I do. Probably 8 foot of water. 10 foot of water, probably.
Really?
There's some videos guys got in here, the mayor, and it's not going to be good.
In terms of your property, what does that mean exactly?
I'm about 12 foot off the ground, up on the high side of the post office area, which is the highest part of Horseshoe. And Hermine, it was probably about maybe a foot, and then now it's probably about 7 or 8.
Wow. So when you go back this afternoon, what do you expect to see?
I hope it's all there. The house is there.
How long you lived there?
About 13 years, 14 years.
And so the last major storm for you was Hermine?
Yes. Well, I mean, yeah, pretty much, yeah.
The biggie?
The biggest one, yeah. But like I say, is just go around, help other people. And
got to do what we can do to recover for this.
Yeah.
I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate everything you guys do for us. Keep everybody informed of what's going on. So, yeah, well, I'm going to take off down there about another hour or two, and so I can. Low tide will be at 8 o'clock tonight, or today, this afternoon, so I'll give it a shot, see if we can get down there.
Can you access it?
We're going to try. I got chainsaws and generators and tow straps and four-wheel drive and get down there and get busy.
Do you have anybody down there that you left behind?
No, I was the second last person leaving there. There's a gentleman, older gentleman there that's there now. He's hanging it out.
Really?
Yeah. I called him. He's still there. He said it's bad. And then there's one other gentleman that was leaving about an hour or two ago. He left. So, yeah.
Those old Florida souls, it's hard to convince them to leave.
You're not going to break them. They're pretty hardcore. Yeah. If, like I say, the main bigger people that's been there all their lives, 50, 60 years, when they came by and said, Jeff, I'm leaving, I thought, nah, it's time for me to get out of there.
Yeah. That shook you enough to go.
Yeah, I'm pretty tough. Pretty hardcore.
What's your take this morning as we look out here in Dixie County at the wind and the rain?
It's getting it. I can tell you that. It's, like I say, it was 85 mile an hour on Hurricane, and it's probably getting at every bit of that. So, yeah, we got trees down. Heard some roofs taking off over here by the wood mill.
We have no power. Who knows how long it's going to take to get back up?
Yeah, I don't know what took off over there on the roofs, but they'll be replacing stuff over there, I'm sure. But, yeah, just thankful for Putnam Lodge.
Yeah, good lodge, isn't it?
Yeah.
Been around since 1927.
Yeah, beautiful inside. Oh, man, if you guys want to come here and stay, you got a beautiful restaurant.
Yeah. And on a lighter note, we have the resident peacocks trying to find some cover. They don't like the rain, do they?
No, they've been around here a long time, too, so they know they've been through it.
So have the kitty cats. They wouldn't hide, no question about it. All right, your name was Jeff?
Yes, sir.
Sure, Jeff, thank you for taking some time with us to paint the picture. Good luck to you at Horseshoe Beach.
Yeah, we welcome you guys down there. Like I say, let's hope it's all for the best. So.
We're praying for you, and we'll follow you down. How does that sound?
All right, we'll keep an eye on you guys.
All right, thanks, Jeff. All right, we'll send it back to you on the studio.
All right. David, thanks. We've been looking at the last few minutes. You know, you were in Cedar Key yesterday. That golf cart ride, so much of the video we've seen now underwater just in a short amount of time.
And I did kind of want to dip into that full interview there. Pretty intense conversation there. That gentleman clearly very worried, but he chose to stay behind there, so he's going to ride that storm out. A lot of people not advising that to be a very good idea. So make sure you're being safe. Make sure you're making good decisions, being safe, and getting out of there if you need to. But this is what we're talking about. You see it right there on your screen. That is the Category 3 Hurricane Idalia. It has now made landfall officially. It's expected to make its way up north and degrade to a Category 2 at some point. But in the meantime, we got a lot of problems here, mainly talking about storm surge up to 16 feet in some spots. You heard me earlier say up to 15 feet. I'm looking at Fox Weather here, their website, getting some of the latest updates and figures they have. But yes, a storm surge of up to 16 feet in some spots. Disastrous winds of up to 130 miles an hour. We've already seen that. And a risk of significant flooding are all in the forecast as Hurricane Idalia is fueled by the warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico. And that's according to the National Hurricane Center, reported by our friends over at Fox Weather. So pretty massive system impacting tons of parts of the Florida, including Central Florida, all the way up to the Florida Panhandle. So we're tracking all of it for you here on Live Now from Fox. Let's get our last commercial break out of the way. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. Want to get to a recorded interview that we did just moments ago, actually getting Manatee County, a representative there from emergency management, got his impressions of Hurricane Idalia and everything they're dealing with there in Manatee County. So I'll play that for you here, raw and unfiltered. Let's go ahead and listen in.
Right, Steve. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. You know, obviously a very developing situation on the ground there. Quick update on just kind of the latest on the ground. What are some of the conditions we're seeing there over in Manatee County?
Sure. We've been getting reports probably for the last 2 hours now of roadway floodings. We knew this would be coming by all the reports we had as the eye would go by that the increased tides would come. And so we have some roads on Braden Beach is flooding, some other roads on the State Road 64 Manatee Avenue Causeway that are flooding, US 41 that are flooding. So we're keeping a track of those, blocking it off where it's unsafe to travel. We just had a meeting about an hour ago with all our partners that have anything to do with, from Public Works to our Swiftwater Rescue to our Manatee County Search and Rescue, the fire departments, to transit, where we listed out all our high water vehicles that if we need to put those in place, we could. We've got transit buses available if we need them. So right now, everything we can see is roadway flooding. And the big thing to caution people about is if that road is flooded and they can't see the roadway, don't drive through it, because then you never know when a roadway is washed out.
Can be very dangerous. We certainly know that, with the potential for sinkholes to just lots of flooding. Driving into a puddle could be more than a couple feet deep, obviously. Are folks driving out and about right now, or are residents in the county pretty much staying in?
No, we could, and we use our traffic camera system through our traffic management system. There are people on the roadways. There are still some businesses open. As we know, government offices are closed. Schools are closed, but private businesses. And so we are seeing vehicles out there. I believe I mentioned the Skyway Bridge is closed now, but there are cars out there, and we're trying to get the message out that unless you really need to be there, don't be out. Let the next few hours pass, because we don't know what's that going to do to more roadways as the more rain and more tides come in. So unless you have to stay at home, wait it out. Most of all, if you can't see the road from your car, don't drive through it.
Absolutely. And we all know just a couple feet of water, a couple inches of water is enough to move a car. So it's very dangerous to be driving through that. Steve, how long have you lived in the county? And, you know, and I'm sure you all been through a number of storms. How does this compare?
Okay. I've lived here all my life, so I won't give away my age. I've lived here all my life, educated all my life. I have been in public safety for 50 years. So this is one of those times that it is increasing. I have seen it flood worse. But again, as you mentioned, from inches to even a foot or two is very dangerous. We know that when water gets up there, can get into the braking system. A big concern is, and it's very noble, people have electrical cars, but salt water and electrical cars don't mix, as we saw in Fort Myers. That is could cause fires. And just that water, as it becomes flowing, can actually float a car away. So we want to make sure they're careful. And obviously, every community has some roads that may flood in a minor rain. But now we're seeing not only the rain, but now the tidal surge come in and really is dangerous.
We've been monitoring power outages over the last several hours. Obviously, much in the north of the state, we're seeing a lot more outages there. But what's the situation looking more central?
Very good. It's about 2 hours ago I last checked. Manatee County probably has 420,000 people. And at that moment in time was just around 1,000 people without power. And the power companies was right there to go correct them. We do have Florida Power and Light in the EOC, so they're getting it directing their power crews out at first light, and which is probably coming up now. Our first in teams, we're going to have 5 of them deploying that consist of the power companies, Public Works to clear the roadway, EMS, fire, and law enforcement to make sure those major thoroughfares to hospitals, major thoroughfares like state road highways are open. So if we need to get the first responders through, we can. Plus, then that opens up for if we need aid to come in or the major roads for people that have to be out can be out.
Certainly a developing situation. I know so many people on the ground like yourself working to keep people safe, to keep people informed. Steve, thanks so much for joining us. Anything we didn't ask you, anything you'd like to add?
No, it's very my pleasure to be here. I encourage people to watch the media for Manatee County, mymanatee.org/weather. People can go on, see our shelters are still open, sandbag locations, roadway closures, what the weather is. So thank you very much.
Steve Lichauer there, Deputy Director of Public Safety over Manatee County Emergency Management. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
And there it is right there, what we're talking about on our XRAD weather radar. Taking a look at Hurricane Idalia, now a Category 3. It has officially made landfall, but the impact was felt well before that landfall actually occurred, with winds reaching at 130 miles an hour. I didn't check to see if it got a little higher than that. It may very well have, but then it dipped back down to 125. That 130 mark is that difference between a Category 3 and a Category 4. So we are now in the Category 3 range, but still it's possible. There could be storm surges in the area we're looking at right now in that bend of Florida, up to 16 feet. That's pretty intense stuff, and that would be devastating. And as I've said before, that storm surge is one of the deadliest aspects of a hurricane. So if you're in that area, in the area where those storm surges would be happening, might be a good idea to get out of there if you haven't already. And even farther south, we're seeing in Tampa, in that neck of the woods, plenty of flooding. As a matter of fact, I want to go to one of our live looks. This is in Hudson, Florida, kind of in that neck of the woods. There we go. Pull that up. And you can see in this area some light flooding. It actually looks like it's improved a little bit from when we have looked last, but it looks like the Tampa area, when I'm looking at the radar, is getting a very tiny break, but still some of those bands very likely to impact this area. So we're looking at that flooding right there on the ground, and some pretty intense winds. If you're looking at Old Glory there, you see the American flag in the background waving in the wind. There's plenty of wind out there, and wind is kind of the name of the game. Like I said, up north, way worse than what we're seeing right there. I'm looking at our feeds, and I think we're going to go over at this point to Fox 35 Orlando. They're in some weather coverage. Obviously, most people in the state of Florida are at this point, but let's dip into their coverage and see where they're at. Take a listen.
Orlando Metro. So as we continue to monitor very strong winds, saturated ground could cause topped over trees as well as those downed power lines. Current wind gusts at 44 miles per hour in Bushnell, 43 in Ocala, and closer to that 20, if not 30 mile per hour mark from Titusville. But things are going to continue to pick up as we head into the next few hours. We're going to be seeing widespread wind gusts at 45 miles per hour plus as we head into your 11 o'clock hour. Yes, the center of Idalia is going to continue to move off to the north and east, but those outer rain bands will be streaming across the state. It's not till after 3, 4 o'clock that wind is really going to start to ease up across the viewing area, back down to about 20 and 30 mile per hour gusts, meaning sustained winds likely even lower. But this is something that we're going to continue to monitor for you all morning long and bring you live pictures from across the state so you know what conditions look like near and far. For now, we're going to send things back to Amy and Danielle at the desk.
All right, thank you so much, Allison. We are seeing the big impact from Idalia all across Central Florida. The storm, again, made landfall 7:45 this morning. It got all the way up to a Cat 4 as it was going up the Gulf, but then ended up making landfall as a 3.
Let's check in now with Fox 35's Manny Martinez. He's live on the Fox 35 Storm Team Thunder truck for us this morning. Manny, good morning to you. Tell us what you are seeing right now. Is it raining where you are?
Good morning, Danielle. It is raining here where we are, but let's show you right now what we're looking at here on 27 as we're now headed towards Cedar Key. It is some of those branches that are on the road. We did have a bit of a lull in some of that wind here for about 10-15 minutes, but that picked up just as we started driving toward the south. And as you here go left, there's the National Guard over here that they are set up here at Lafayette High School, just waiting and ready to deploy when needed. So we are going to be going toward Cedar Key, so we're going to go back south. And it was about an hour ago that we were right in the thick of it in Taylor County near Perry. And so we, as you see just further ahead, there's some more branches and tree debris that's being blown across 27 here. So we'll make it there around 9:30, 9:45, and we'll keep giving you updates as to what we see on these roads here and these conditions as we continue to deal with Idalia. But for now, live in the Fox 35 Storm Team Thunder Truck, Manny Martinez, guys, back to you.
It's so interesting. You know, one of the things that he talked about was seeing those down trees, Amy, and that's what you really have to be careful of, because you don't know if you're going to be running over something that's going to damage your car, in addition to the down power lines, right? That I think a lot of...
And like I mentioned, I just want to dip in here again because we got tons of coverage on this. I want to go back over to Fox 13 Tampa. They got a live report outside right now. Let's take a look at those conditions.
Pasco Sheriff's Office. That's exactly why they have these here. So in these situations, which fortunately don't come that often, but when they do, they're going to try to get in there and get people out and get them safe. Again, we're at Hudson Sea Ranch, Hudson Beach community. If you are watching this and you need help, call 911, let them know where you are, and they'll get there just as quickly as they can.
All right. We'll talk in a bit. Thanks, Charlie. All right, flooding from the tidal surge has been an issue in Hillsborough County as well.
And parts of Bayshore Boulevard and the Riverwalk are underwater right now. Fox 13's Matt McClellan is assessing the situation in Tampa. And Matt, you showed us some images as the storm surge was coming in. And over the course of just your live shot alone, how quickly the water rose. So how are things looking right now?
Yeah, you know, Laura, Tony has said it. Dave has said it, Paul has said it, our entire team, that those hours, 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m., this would be the peak of the water levels. The storm surge for the Tampa area, St. Pete, and that is what is bearing out here. I wanted to give you as wide and as long of a view of Bayshore Boulevard as I could. It is just breathtaking. The level of water here, the amount of it that is rushed past the balustrade, covering all lanes of Bayshore Boulevard. You'll see folks out at their buildings, some of them letting their dogs out, most of them taking photos and video of what they're seeing here. I also want to draw your attention to this Chevrolet that is here on the grass. We don't know exactly what happened here, but it would be safe to assume this is a driver who approached the floodwaters and did not want to cross, knew it was not safe, so bailed and left their car right there. I can also tell you that both bridges to and from, I won't say both. I'll say this bridge that goes from TGH back over Bayshore. It appears to be closed. There is a lot of standing water down there on that end. I want to get closer to TGH later on this morning if I can and get a better look at how the wall that they set up. We've been showing the pictures of the wall that was supposed to protect from the storm surge, how that is faring. It doesn't appear that the storm surge has risen to the level that it would be needed there, because if you look just this way, you'll see the water still sort of below the barricade, if you will, the fencing that is set up there. But you know, Laura, I was talking to a couple people who are out here taking photos. Here come a couple more. They want to take in this view as well. One guy said he's lived here for many, many years. He lives like a block from here. I said, when's the last time you saw something like this? And he went all the way back to 1985, Hurricane Idalia, which I had to look up, and Dave and Tony can talk more about Hurricane Idalia, but that's almost 40 years ago, the last time he could remember there being flooding on Bayshore that looked like this. I talked to another woman. I said, what comes to mind when you look out at Bayshore and the water and the level that is here? She said Honduras. She said, I'm from Honduras. We're no stranger to hurricanes. This reminds me of home in a way. Another thing she said that I thought was interesting is that hurricanes are not all bad because it brings family together as they huddle and sort of take cover. Another bright side, at least in this immediate area, is that guy that was telling me about Hurricane Idalia said, my power's back on. that's a plus. A lot of people, of course, were bracing for widespread outages. There are some of those across Hillsborough County, but not maybe as wide and as prevalent as we thought. So the big takeaway for me right now, though, I'm still just sort of taking this in. My mouth is open looking at Bayshore Boulevard. And I would ask you, Laura and Russell, because you all have been here longer than me, have you guys ever seen
I've never
recent years anything like this?
I have never seen anything like this. I look at the Howard Franklin Bridge. I look at the riverfront in downtown Tampa. The water levels are historic. So, and I'm glad to hear about TGH. That's something that we were worried about. We know that's a primary hospital right on the water, and I hope that water level stays right where it is. It looks like those barriers are doing the job.
That's what it holds.
Yeah. All right, Matt, thank you.
That's right.
Thousands of people were under mandatory evacuation orders in Citrus County. Hopefully they left when they were supposed to.
Conditions are picking up and the water's starting to rise in certain areas. Regina Gonzalez is in Crystal River this morning. Let's check in with her.
Hey, good morning, Laura and Russell. I saw you not even an hour ago. It was dry and a little windy. And I have to tell you, if anybody was watching an interview that I did with the Citrus County Sheriff at 5 this morning, we were standing in this exact spot that I'm about to show you. You could see that the outer bands from Idalia have certainly made their way into Crystal River. And I just have to stress how fast this storm surge is making its way into the parking lot of this restaurant. This is actually a popular seafood restaurant that we're kind of located outside of. And this is basically where people come to dock their boats. This is the manatee capital of Florida. A lot of manatee boats out here, and the storm surge just pushing its way through Crystal River, through these waterway systems, and onto US 19, which is where we're about to turn onto. We are in our SAT truck. We've got our photographer, Joe Vasquez, driving. He's done this. You can see first responders out on the road. Now, when I spoke to the sheriff yesterday, he said as the system pushes through and as the conditions get worse, be careful. Go if you need to go, and this was yesterday, because he's saying we will not be able to get to you. Now, the reason they're patrolling is because the system hadn't fully made its way in yet, and now we're going into those peak hours. They did say between the hours of 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. when we were going to see the brunt of this nasty weather, and now you can see that it is happening. So you've had state troopers, you've had the Citrus County Sheriff's Department, Citrus County Fire Rescue on the roads, because I have to stress the importance of being vigilant if you did stay, regardless of where you're watching from. Now that water is getting into certain parts of this area, now that the wind is picking up, we actually heard a transformer blow. Some locations of Crystal River here where we're at, some blocks did lose power. And then we heard Crystal River Fire Rescue engines just racing down this road. And that is because they got reports of multiple electrical fires. So that is what they are dealing with right now. And it's likely that they are going to get more.
And if you are just joining us on Live Now from Fox, we're going through all these feeds from all these Fox stations and Fox Weather covering Hurricane Idalia. Right now, I want to go to Fox Weather. Pretty interesting live shot here happening right now with Robert Ray. You can see some pretty intense weather happening here and that storm surge. Take a look.
And thankfully, we're not seeing any of that right now. But I will tell you, as far as I can see, as far as my human eye can see, this road is inundated with water. And the same goes in that direction, both ways. The marina right behind these structures is part of this road at this point. And this is what we expected. This is why the mandatory evacs were in play. You know, yesterday, we were talking about the potential for up to 7 feet of storm surge. I don't think that that is going to be a number that we have hit or even will hit. I mean, it's just a strange thing. As we had landfall at 7:45, we are hundreds of miles from where the landfall occurred, and yet that shows you how the force and the energy of Idalia and these bands, the bands that follow the eye wall and continue to spin counterclockwise, and that's the danger. And so this water has receded a little bit, and we hope it recedes more. As you know, it comes in fast and it can leave fast, and that's the scenario I think we're in right now. Now, having said that, you know, it'll be interesting to see when officials can start maneuvering through these streets and seeing exactly how far and how deep it circumnavigated this barrier island, meaning the water. I certainly hope that there's not extensive damage. I can tell you right across from here, in fact, let me walk over there and you'll be able to see. You see those like barrier walls that water walls they put up in front of this restaurant. They're starting to take some of them down or move them around with the hope that this is all done. And, you see people coming out of their hotel or people that have hunkered down that perhaps work here. And that's a good sign right now, because we haven't seen anybody walking here all night and into the morning. We've seen emergency vehicles go through. So mandatory evac still underway. We know that there are thousands of utility workers on standby to restore power. We've been okay, believe it or not, with the power situation here, despite the surge that has come through these streets right now. And the Gulf of Mexico, just about 200 yards behind the camera, beyond this huge fortress of a hotel that we were lucky enough to stay in to be able to provide this coverage, guys. So, Amy, developing, I just hope that everybody's okay in the pocket where the landfall made into South Georgia and other parts of the Big Bend. Amy?
Yeah, Robert, I want to show also the images from where you had some of those outer bands earlier and the surge was coming up. We're still about an hour and a half, 2 hours away from another high tide. Here's a look. This is you in the heart of one of those rain bands as it came in inland. It looks like a piece of a palm tree flew out. You currently have had a surge there at Clearwater of 3.7 feet, and you won't get into low tide until about 3 o'clock this afternoon. So there might be another surge here mid-morning hours before you start to see a real return of that water back into the Gulf. But what was it like being in these outer bands? I mean, you're definitely knee-deep in water here.
Yeah, I tell you, it came on quick, and thankfully, you guys notified me. Our meteorology team in New York sent me a ping on the phone that said, "Hey, get ready. You got a heck of a band coming through." And sure enough, like clockwork, that band came through. And my team here, 2 photographers, incredible Fox News Channel photographers, standing by there, holding the lights down, holding the cameras down as the water whipped across into these streets. It came in hard. It was much higher, about up a little past my knee, and debris coming off trees. Thankfully, no structural debris. That's the scary part. When you start to get aluminum pieces of roofs coming off, didn't see anything like that, but we did see, a large garbage dumpster float in the distance. And this all happened like just before the sun rose and the rain sideways. I could taste the salt water as it was coming in, because what happened is, the rain comes in and it splashes all of this up, hitting you right in the mouth, and you could taste the sea. You could taste the elements from the Gulf of Mexico. Head was on a swivel, as with my incredible photography team here. So we're glad that's over, and I'm sure everybody who lives here feels the same way.
We'll continue with the coverage as we go through the high tide cycles and Idalia moves inland. Fox Weather's Robert Ray, live in Clearwater Beach, Florida.
And there it is right there. That is Hurricane Idalia. It has made landfall. And just to put things into perspective, you saw that live shot there with Robert Ray with Fox Weather. He's down in Clearwater, Florida. You saw how high that water was. Now just imagine where that eye of the storm is, right in that Big Bend region of Florida, how bad that storm surge could be there. It's expected to be pretty large. Fox Weather reporting that it could be up to 16 feet. That would be pretty devastating for that area. Even if it doesn't get quite that high, if it gets to 10 or above even, that's going to be pretty bad for that neck of the woods. So we'll have plenty of reports, plenty of coverage on this all morning right here on Live Now from Fox. I do want to take our first commercial break of this hour. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. And there it is back on the screen. That is Hurricane Idalia, Category 3 sustained winds at 120 miles per hour at the moment, and a big storm surge expected in that area near the eye of the storm. I do want to go back to Fox Weather for some of their coverage to get the latest updates around the state of Florida and see what they have to say at this point. Looks like they are doing a live hit with someone, so let's go ahead and listen in.
These cameras, absolutely remarkable. That is exactly what they are there for, to augment the extraordinary coverage of what the team is doing out in person. These cameras help to see stuff that they just can't see in person because it's too dangerous. Unbelievable imagery using technology this morning.
When you get out in the danger zone ahead of the storm, you're looking for the points where the forecast is calling for the worst conditions. How does it look for the imagery that's coming back so far? Certainly what we've seen out of Cedar Keys has been very impressive as the surge is there well past 6 feet.
Yes, Cedar Key is inundated, as we have seen. But up at Steinhatchee, we have a camera system on the bridge there with our weather station. And watching the Steinhatchee River just come up so fast, it looks almost like rapids. It's just unbelievable. But that's that storm surge, the power of storm surge driven in by the landfall of a Category 3 hurricane.
We can see from the Cedar Key cameras right now, water has swallowed some of the homes right there on the outsides of the island. We've also had wind speeds above 80 miles an hour nearby. Between Cedar Key and Perry, that's really where our top wind speeds have been coming in, and there is an extreme wind warning for those counties as it moves inland towards 10. Mark, when you look at how this storm is performing, what are your concerns inland? We had such a fierce landfall, and it's moving so quickly. The inland impacts are also going to be exaggerated.
That's exactly right, Amy. We need to understand that where I am in Madison, Florida, on Interstate 10, that whole area, we think back to Michael. We talked about Charlie earlier, these fast-moving hurricanes as they go inland. This is going to be a hurricane for the rest of the southeast from here on out. So the pine trees that are going to come down, the oak trees, the flooding. As I talked about in an earlier segment, we hope that the big rig truckers will just stay home and out of this zone. I'm really worried about them, this I-10 corridor. Hopefully their dispatch is telling them to stay put for the next several hours.
Yeah, this is no joke when you get onto I-10 and you've got 70 to 80 mile an hour winds coming in at a clip. Not to mention that we've got the tornado risk in place. We've had some tornado warnings this morning, but a watch will be in place for Florida and Georgia until 3 p.m. Eastern time. That's another significant point of a landfall. The inland locations can easily see a spin up of a very severe storm, which is just as risky as any of the impacts a hurricane could bring.
Oh, that's exactly right. And all of the impacts, that's that word. I like that. That's what this is all about, the impact. Not the track necessarily, not the little dot that we see or the symbol, but the impacts. The surge is happening at the coast. We're getting the wind, and that is starting to cause damage. The inland flooding, not going to be as big a problem, but still several inches of rain can cause localized flooding. And then, of course, the risk of tornadoes and some of those bands. All of this ever-changing, very dynamic over the next 24 to 36 hours for the entire southeast coast down here.
All right, we're going to continue checking in with you. Fox Weather's Hurricane Storm Tracker with us. Mark Sutta, thanks for the perspective and the live eyewitness of this storm as it comes inland.
Unbelievable. Yes.
Yeah, pretty amazing video there. That guy actually put a bunch of cameras that were waterproof in a bunch of buildings, and then you saw some of the video, at least from one of those buildings, to capture that storm surge as it came in. So pretty cool stuff. Glad we were able to catch that as we take a live look here at our X-RAD weather radar at Hurricane Idalia. It has officially made landfall as a Category 3, 120 mile per hour sustained winds and a devastating storm surge and a lot of damage in store for folks along the northern part of Florida. Well, actually all the way to the south as well. We're seeing some pretty decent flooding in the Tampa area, and you might have seen our coverage earlier. We dipped into their coverage for just a second, and they spoke about how they'd never seen one particular area near the water actually flooded. That's never happened before from somebody that had lived there their entire life. So pretty interesting stuff. We're getting a lot of reports like that, and I'm sure they'll continue as the day goes on here. Let's go ahead and get our second commercial break out of the way. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just 2 short minutes. Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. There's a live look at our X-RAD weather radar. We're tracking Hurricane Idalia. That's our Category 3 at this point. Sustained winds of 120 miles an hour. Let's go ahead and go over to our friends at Tampa, Fox 13, and check out their forecast and what they're saying on the conditions there. Let's listen in.
Gusts, and there'll be periods of time today. Yes, the winds will try to relax because the storm, you think about it, is weakening, right, as it moves onshore. But we're still going to maintain the wind direction out of the southwest with gusts 30 to 40 miles per hour. So that's not going to allow that water, which would otherwise want to drain out as we get towards times of high tide, to really kind of see improvements there. So I know there's a lot of questions about what time to expect it in general, between like 11:30 this morning to about 2 or 3 o'clock this afternoon, just depending on where you are. But that's when we'll get into our secondary high tide, which, I mean, this is just the recipe for exactly what we're seeing now, due to the full moon exaggerating the gravitational pull and exaggerating our tide. I mean, for some of you, we could see double the tide, like double